The ancients did not write on stone and papyrus merely to record history. They wrote to map the soul. They knew a truth that we, in our hurry, have forgotten, that the universe outside, with all of its stars and all of its mysteries, is but a reflection of the universe within. They left us symbols, not as decorations, but as keys. Keys to doors inside of us that we have long since forgotten how to open. Do you feel it sometimes? In the quiet moments between the noise of the day, a faint call, a deep and subtle hum beneath the surface of your thoughts, a sense that you are more than your job, more than your anxieties, more than the role you play for the world. It is the echo of this ancient truth, a memory stirring in your bones. It is the part of you that knows this modern world, with its relentless pace and its shallow demands, is not your true home. It is a stage, and you have grown tired of the play. You have started to question the script. Who wrote these lines? Why do they feel so foreign on your tongue? This journey we are about to take together is an answer to that quiet call. We will not be studying history. We will be engaging in an act of remembering. We will walk through a gallery of the soul, and we will pause before the great silent symbols left for us by those who came before. The labyrinth, the tree of life, the phoenix rising from the ashes. These are not relics of a dead past. They are living mirrors. They speak a language older than words, a language your spirit understands perfectly. Each symbol is a doorway. Behind each one lies a timeless message, a piece of the map that leads back to your own center. This is not a journey to become someone new. It is a journey to strip away all that you are not, so you may finally stand in the powerful, silent truth of who you have always been. So find a quiet space. Let your body grow heavy and your breath grow soft. There is no need to strive, no need to force anything. Simply allow these words to wash over you. The keys are in your hand. The doors are waiting. Let us begin. We are taught from our first breath to walk in a straight line. The world demands it. A straight line from grade school to university, a straight line up the corporate ladder, a straight line from courtship to marriage, to the predictable milestones that follow. We are told that this is progress, that this is the path to success, the only map worth reading. And so we march. We put one foot in front of the other, eyes fixed on a distant horizon, a goal we have been told will bring us peace, fulfillment, a sense of arrival. But for so many of us, the path does not feel straight, does it? It feels confusing. We take a step forward, only to find ourselves 2 steps back. We believe we are heading north, but the landscape feels strangely familiar, like a place we have been before. We feel like we are walking in circles, and the straight line map the world gave us becomes useless, a mockery of our own lived experience. We feel lost. The shame of being lost in a world that worships direction can be immense. But what if I told you that this feeling of being lost, of moving in circles, is not a sign that you are broken? It is a sign that you are finally beginning to read the true map, the map of the soul. This map does not use straight lines. It uses 2 of the most ancient and powerful symbols we have, the labyrinth and the spiral. Let us first speak of the labyrinth. When you hear the word, you likely imagine a maze, a place of tricks and dead ends, designed to confuse and trap you. And you are right. The labyrinth is the path of the ego. It is the journey the mind embarks on when it is disconnected from the soul. The ego loves a challenge it can conquer, and the labyrinth appears to be just that. It says, I am smart enough, I am strong enough, I will solve this. And so it plunges in, running down long corridors with great confidence, fueled by ambition and the desire to prove itself. When it hits a wall, a dead end, it feels a surge of frustration, a personal failure. It curses the wall, curses the path, and often curses itself. It backtracks, angry and impatient, and rushes down another corridor, convinced this new path must be the right one. This is the feeling of chasing a promotion with all your might, only to get it and feel empty. It is the experience of starting a new diet or a new business with a burst of frantic energy, only to burn out and abandon it weeks later. It is the painful pattern of entering new relationships, believing this time will be different, only to find yourself playing out the same old dramas, hitting the same familiar walls. Each dead end in the labyrinth of the ego feels like a wasted effort, a monumental setback. The ego screams, "I am going nowhere, I am failing." It cannot comprehend that the path itself is the point. The labyrinth is a teacher, and its lesson is humility. It is designed to break the will of the ego. It is designed to exhaust you. Its purpose is to lead you to the point of absolute surrender. The frantic traveler, running through the stone corridors, his heart pounding with anxiety, eventually collapses. He cannot take another step. The fight is gone. He slumps against a cold wall, defeated. He closes his eyes, and for the first time, he does not try to solve the puzzle. He does not try to get out. He simply breathes. He listens. He feels the solid ground beneath him. And in that moment of profound surrender, the labyrinth transforms. Its energy shifts. For when the ego gives up, the soul is finally able to speak. It whispers, "You were never meant to escape. You were meant to go deeper." This is the moment the labyrinth reveals its hidden nature and becomes the spiral. From the outside, a spiral can look like a labyrinth. It winds and it turns. It brings you close to the center, only to sweep you back out to the periphery. A person walking the spiral path, when viewed by the frantic, linear world, might look like they are going in circles, making no progress. They may face a challenge today that looks remarkably similar to one they faced years ago. And the ego, if it is still active, will cry out in despair, "Not this again. I am back where I started. I have learned nothing." But the soul knows the truth. The spiral is not a flat circle. It is a three-dimensional journey. You are not returning to the same point. You are revisiting a theme from a higher level of consciousness. With a deeper well of wisdom, you have spiraled upwards. Think of a time you had to learn a lesson about forgiveness, or patience, or setting boundaries. The first time, perhaps it was a brutal, painful experience. Years later, a similar situation arises. It feels familiar. The old pain might even stir. But this time, something is different. You see the pattern more clearly. You respond with more grace. You do not get pulled into the drama as deeply. You are on the next loop of the spiral. You have not failed. You have evolved. The spiral honors the cyclical nature of life, the seasons of our own becoming. There are times for outward expansion, moving along the wide outer rings, and there are times for inward contraction, drawing closer to the still, silent center. The straight-line world fears this contraction. It calls it depression, stagnation, failure. The soul knows it is a necessary part of the journey. It is the winter of the spirit, where we gather our strength and integrate our lessons before the next spring of expansion. To walk the spiral path is to trust this process. It is to release the desperate need to be somewhere else and to fully inhabit the part of the path you are on right now. It is to understand that the turns and twists are not obstacles, they are the path itself. So, look at your life. Look at the patterns, the recurring themes, the challenges that seem to find you again and again. Do not see them as the dead ends of a labyrinth designed to punish you. See them, instead, as the elegant curves of a spiral, inviting you into a deeper relationship with yourself. See them as opportunities to bring more consciousness, more love, more awareness than you did on the last pass. The goal is not a destination at the end of a long, straight road. The goal is the center of the spiral. And what is at the center? It is not a prize. It is not an escape. It is you, the real you, the silent, peaceful, all-knowing observer that has been watching your journey all along. The part of you that is already whole, already home. The journey of the spiral is simply the journey of remembering how to get there. It is the path of coming home to yourself. The choice, then, is always before you. Will you continue to run frantically through the labyrinth of the mind, crashing into walls of your own making? Or will you surrender, take a breath, and begin to walk the sacred, winding path of the spiral, trusting that every step, no matter where it seems to lead, is bringing you closer to your own divine center? The map is not a piece of paper. The map is your own awareness. And to read it properly, to truly know where you are on this inner terrain, you first need to be able to see clearly. You need a tool for perfect reflection, an instrument that shows you not what you want to see, but what is. You need a mirror that does not lie. Having understood that your path is not a straight line but a sacred spiral, you now require the essential tool for navigation. You need a way to see where you are on this journey, not with your physical eyes, but with the eye of the soul. You need a mirror, but this is where humanity has made its most profound mistake. We are born looking for our own reflection in the world outside of us. As a child, we look into the mirror of our parents' eyes. Are they pleased? Are they disappointed? Their expression becomes our identity. We believe we are what they see. As we grow, we trade that mirror for others. We look for ourselves in the eyes of our friends, our teachers, our lovers. We search for our reflection in the applause of a crowd, the number in a bank account, the title on a business card. We spend our lives in a hall of fractured mirrors, each one showing us a different, distorted version of ourselves. One mirror, tarnished by envy, shows us as inadequate. Another, clouded by desire, shows us as an object to be possessed. A third, cracked by that person's own past trauma, shows us as a threat. We run from mirror to mirror, desperately trying to find a reflection that feels like home, and all we find is more confusion, more fragmentation. We try to piece together an identity from these broken shards, and we wonder why we feel so shattered inside. The spiritual journey begins with the radical, world-shaking decision to stop looking outside. The work is not to find a better mirror. The work is to become one. Imagine that your mind is a lake. For most of us, for most of our lives, this lake is in a state of constant turmoil. A harsh word from a colleague is a stone thrown into the water, and its ripples of anger and defensiveness spread across the entire surface. The wind of anxiety about the future blows relentlessly, whipping the water into a choppy, nervous frenzy. A memory of a past failure is like a heavy boot kicking up mud from the lake bed, turning everything cloudy and opaque. In this state, the lake cannot offer a true reflection. If the sky above represents truth, reality, your own divine nature, then the image it sees of itself on the surface of the turbulent water is a broken, chaotic, unrecognizable mess. And because we are identified with our minds, we believe we are this mess. We point to the turbulent water and say, "That is me. I am an anxious person. I am an angry person. I am full of confusion." We have mistaken the state of the water for the water itself, and we have forgotten the sky entirely. You cannot calm the water by force. You cannot command the ripples to be still. If you try to flatten them with your hands, you only create more disturbance. This is the great folly of fighting with your own mind. Trying to suppress an unwanted thought only gives it more energy. Trying to force away a painful emotion only pushes it deeper, where it will fester and cloud the waters even more. The path to clarity is not through force, but through a profound and loving act of allowing. The practice is to simply sit by the shore of your own lake. You become the silent witness. The wind of anxiety begins to blow, and you notice it. You feel its chill, but you do not become the wind. You do not get swept up in its story. You simply watch it blow across the surface. A stone of criticism is thrown in, and you watch the ripples spread. You feel their sting, but you do not become the ripple. You do not follow it to the edge of the lake and back. You remain on the shore. You are the stillness that perceives the motion. You are the silence that holds the noise. This is the essence of meditation. It is not about emptying the mind, but about allowing the mind's contents to be what they are, without becoming entangled in them. As you practice this gentle, unwavering observation, something miraculous begins to happen. The winds, no longer fed by your resistance, begin to soften. The stones of external opinion are still thrown, but they seem smaller, and their ripples dissipate more quickly. And most importantly, the mud, the heavy sediment of your personal history, your conditioning, your unhealed wounds, begins to slowly, gently settle on the lakebed. The water starts to clear. At first, it is just a patch of clarity. Then the patch grows larger. The process cannot be rushed, just as you cannot rush the clearing of a mountain lake after a storm. It takes as long as it takes. Your only job is to be the patient, loving witness. And then one day, perhaps in a moment you least expect it, you will look upon your own mind and find that it is utterly still. The wind has ceased. The sediment has settled. The water is as clear as glass, as smooth as silk. And in that perfect stillness, it reflects the sky above with flawless, breathtaking precision. In that reflection, you do not see your personality. You do not see your accomplishments or your failures. You do not see the person you thought you were. You see the vast, open, luminous blue of being itself. You see the boundless peace of your true nature. This is the mirror of truth. It has been there all along, obscured only by the turbulence you mistook for yourself. What you seek is not a new reflection. You only need a clearer mirror. There is another ancient symbol for this state of being, the polished shield. Think of a warrior from a time before our own. His life depended on his shield, not just for protection, but for perception. In the gleam of its polished surface, he could catch the reflection of an enemy approaching from the side or from behind. But if the shield was tarnished, dented, or covered in the grime of battle, the reflection would be warped and useless. A distorted image could lead to a fatal misjudgment. And so, the warrior's discipline included the daily, meticulous polishing of his shield. Our awareness is this shield. Every day, life throws dirt upon it. The opinions of others, the constant barrage of negative news, our own reactive judgments. These are the grime and tarnish that dull our perception. Our spiritual practice, whatever form it takes, is the act of polishing this shield. When you choose to sit in silence for 10 minutes instead of scrolling through your phone, you are polishing the shield. When you choose to breathe and observe your anger instead of lashing out, you are polishing the shield. When you choose compassion over judgment, you are buffing out a dent. It is a daily, disciplined act of clearing away the distortions of the ego so that you can perceive the world and yourself as they truly are. With a polished shield of awareness, you no longer react blindly to life. You respond with clarity, with wisdom, with the calm precision of a warrior who sees the battlefield perfectly. So cease your frantic search in the fractured hall of mirrors that is the world. The validation you seek there is a phantom. The identity it offers is a prison. The only reflection that can set you free is the one waiting for you in the stillness of your own being. It is reflected in the silent lake of a mind at peace. It gleams from the surface of a consciousness polished by discipline and love. Look there. Gaze into your own clear water, your own shining shield. The face that looks back at you is the face of truth. And now, as you hold this clear reflection, a new question arises. Who is this that I see? It is a being of complexity, of light, and of darkness. It is time to meet the faces in the mirror. It is time to understand the masks we all wear. As you gaze into the clear mirror of your own still consciousness, you see a face. But it is not one simple face. It is a landscape of light and shade, of hills and valleys, of things seen and things unseen. To understand this reflection is to understand the great drama of the human psyche, a play that has been going on within us since the dawn of time. The first thing we usually notice, the face we present to the world, has a name. The ancients called it the persona. The word comes from the masks worn by actors in Greek theater, an ingenious symbol for the role we learn to play in the theater of life. From our earliest days, we are in a process of learning which masks will be rewarded. We learn that the mask of the good child earns us praise. We learn that the mask of the diligent student earns us good grades. We grow up and we craft more sophisticated masks. The mask of the confident professional, the mask of the caring and patient parent, the mask of the witty and entertaining friend, the mask of the spiritually enlightened seeker. These masks are not inherently evil. They are necessary tools for navigating a complex social world. They allow us to function, to cooperate, to belong. The great danger of the persona is not in the wearing of it, but in the forgetting that we are wearing it. The danger comes when the actor mistakes the mask for his true face. To live completely identified with your persona is to live in a golden cage. From the outside, everything looks perfect. The cage is polished, admired, and often rewarded handsomely by the world. The person inside plays their role flawlessly. They are the pillar of their community, the dependable employee, the ever-cheerful friend. Yet, if you could feel what they feel in the silent hours of the night, you would sense a profound exhaustion, a quiet desperation, a hollow ache of inauthenticity. It takes a tremendous amount of life force to keep a mask held perfectly in place. It requires a constant, low-level vigilance, a fear of being found out, a terror that someone might see the cracks in the facade and discover the messy, complex, and all too human reality that lies beneath. This fear is the source of so much of our collective anxiety. The persona, which was first adopted as a tool for survival and acceptance, becomes a prison. It dictates the terms of our existence. If your mask is that of the strong one, you are forbidden from feeling or expressing weakness and vulnerability. If your mask is that of the intellectual, you are forbidden from trusting your messy intuition or expressing raw, illogical emotion. If your mask is that of the nice guy, you are forbidden from feeling or expressing righteous anger. You are living half a life, constrained by the very role you created to make life easier. So where do all of these forbidden parts of us go? When we decide that anger is unacceptable, or that our wild creativity is too much, or that our deep need for solitude is selfish, these energies do not simply vanish. They cannot be destroyed. They are energy, and so they are pushed down. They are exiled from the bright, well-lit parlor of the persona and locked away in the dark, damp basement of the psyche. This basement is what the great psychologist Carl Jung called the shadow. The shadow is the repository for everything about ourselves that we have disowned. It is everything we believe we are not. For the person who is relentlessly kind, the shadow holds their capacity for rage. For the rigidly disciplined ascetic, the shadow holds their untamed sexuality and desire for pleasure. For the devoutly religious person, the shadow holds their doubts, their blasphemous questions. But here is the most crucial truth you must understand, a truth that can change the entire course of your inner journey. The shadow is not just a bag of bad things. Often, it contains our greatest treasures. It is a treasure chest we have buried in our own cellar. Into the shadow, we cast our most brilliant, unexpressed creativity because we were told it was impractical. Into the shadow, we banish our raw, authentic power because we were told it was intimidating. Into the shadow, we shove our deep, intuitive wisdom because it could not be proven by logic and reason. The shadow holds our gold. It contains the other half of our soul. For most of our lives, we refuse to even acknowledge the basement door. But the shadow will not be ignored forever. It wants to be seen. It wants to come home. And so, it finds a way to get our attention. The most common way is through projection. We see our own disowned shadow qualities, clear as day, in the people around us. Pay close attention to the people who trigger the strongest emotional reactions in you, both positive and negative. The person at work whose arrogance and self-promotion drives you into a state of rage, they may be acting out the very ambition and self-worth that you were taught to suppress and have locked in your shadow. The free-spirited artist whose lack of discipline appalls you, They may be mirroring the playful, spontaneous part of yourself that you exiled in the name of responsibility. The people we judge most harshly are often unwitting messengers, showing us a picture of our own lost parts. The same is true for adoration. The person you put on a pedestal, whose confidence and wisdom seem almost godlike, they are showing you the golden parts of your own shadow, the magnificent potential you have not yet dared to claim for yourself. The work of spiritual maturity, the path to true wholeness, is the work of shadow integration. It is the journey of turning around, facing that basement door, and willingly walking down the stairs. And you do not go down with a sword to slay a monster. That is the ego's way. You go down with a lantern to find a lost child. For that is what the shadow truly is, a collection of wounded, abandoned, and misunderstood children, the exiled parts of your own being. The work is to sit with them, to listen to their stories without judgment, to look at the angry part of you and say, "I see you, I understand your rage, you are welcome here." To look at the fearful part and say, "I feel your terror, I will not abandon you." To look at the brilliant, creative part and say, "I am sorry I locked you away, please come out and play." This is the alchemical process of integration. It is the act of reclaiming your lost energy, of bringing the exiled parts of yourself back into the kingdom of your own heart. It is an act of profound self-compassion. This is the path to becoming whole. Wholeness is not perfection. It is not about creating a more polished, flawless mask. It is about having the courage to integrate the light and the dark within you. A whole person is not someone who is always nice. They are someone who can be kind, but can also access their anger in a clean, powerful way when a boundary needs to be defended. A whole person is not someone who is always logical. They are someone who can use their intellect, but also trusts the deep wisdom of their body and intuition. They are no longer living half a life. They are powerful, authentic, and free. But this work, the sacred work of meeting your shadow, can be deeply unsettling. To welcome these long-lost energies back into your consciousness can feel like an earthquake, shaking the very foundations of the person you thought you were. To do this work safely, to avoid being swept away by the storm, you must first have a place within you that is unshakable. You must first find your own firm ground. You must build your inner citadel, the sacred work of meeting your shadow, of welcoming home the exiled parts of yourself, requires immense courage. But it requires something more fundamental. It requires firm ground on which to stand. To walk into the storm of your own hidden psyche, you must first know that there is a part of you the storm cannot move. For most of our lives, we feel like a leaf in the wind. A word of praise lifts us into euphoric heights. A criticism sends us crashing to the ground. A change in fortune, a piece of bad news, a shift in another's mood, we are tossed and turned by the relentless currents of circumstance. Our inner peace is fragile, utterly dependent on an external world we cannot control. We spend our lives trying to control the wind, a task that is both impossible and exhausting. The great spiritual traditions do not teach us to control the wind. They teach us to become the mountain. They teach us that there is a part of you, at your very core, that is not the leaf. It is not even the tree. It is the mountain itself, silent, majestic, and unshakable. It is time to find your inner citadel. Consider the life of a great mountain. It has stood for millions of years, a silent witness to the endless drama of the sky. On a glorious summer day, the sun bathes its slopes in warmth and golden light. The mountain feels the warmth, it hosts the light, but it does not say, "I am this sunshine." It knows the sun will set. Then comes the autumn rain, a gentle, persistent drumming that washes its stony face and nourishes the life in its crevices. The mountain receives the rain. It allows itself to be washed, but it does not say, "I am this melancholy drizzle." Then the winter comes, a fury of screaming wind and blinding snow. A blizzard rages, burying the mountain's peaks in a thick blanket of ice. The mountain endures the cold, it wears the snow, but it never, for a single moment, believes that it is the blizzard. And when the spring arrives, a violent thunderstorm may crack the sky with lightning and shake the air with thunder. The mountain feels the vibration. It witnesses the raw power, but it does not identify with the flash or the noise. The weather is what happens to the mountain. It is not what the mountain is. The mountain's core nature, its profound, silent, unshakable mountainness, is untouched by the passing drama of the weather. You are the mountain. Your thoughts, your emotions, and the events of your life are the weather. The profound error that creates almost all human suffering is that we mistake ourselves for the weather. A feeling of joy arises, and we cling to it, thinking, "This is me. This is who I really am." We chase the sunshine, terrified of the clouds. A wave of sadness or grief washes over us, and we believe, "I am sad. I am a sad person." We have become the rain. A surge of anger flashes through us, and we declare, "I am angry," becoming the thunderstorm, identified with its noise and its destructive potential. Anxious thoughts create a thick fog in the mind, and we believe we are the fog, lost and unable to see the way forward. As long as you believe you are the weather, you will be tossed and turned, a helpless victim of your own inner climate. The path to freedom, the construction of your inner citadel, begins with a radical shift in identification. You are not the thought. You are not the emotion. You are not the circumstance. You are the vast, silent, and eternal space in which all of this weather unfolds. How do you find this inner mountain? You do not have to build it. It is already there. You have simply forgotten it, having spent a lifetime fascinated by the ever-changing clouds. The practice is one of remembering, of returning. You can do it right now. If you can, close your eyes. Notice the thoughts that are moving through your mind. Do not judge them or try to stop them. Just observe them, like clouds drifting across a vast sky. Now, bring your attention to the feelings present in your body. Is there a tightness in your chest, a warmth in your belly, a tension in your shoulders? Simply notice this emotional weather, without needing it to be different. Now ask yourself this simple, profound question. Who is it that is aware of all this? Who is it that notices the thoughts? Who is it that perceives the emotions? This which is aware, this which notices, this is the beginning of the mountain. This is the silent watcher. It is the consciousness that precedes the thought, the stillness that holds the emotion. It has no qualities. It is not happy or sad. It is not young or old. It is simply there. It is the silent, unmoving background against which the movie of your life is projected. This is your citadel. This is your bedrock. Think of the ground beneath your feet. There may be loose topsoil, representing the daily chatter of your mind, the worries, the plans, the endless to-do lists. Deeper down, there is a layer of dense clay, your deeper emotional patterns and personal history. But beneath all of that, there is solid, unmoving bedrock. This bedrock is your true nature. It has been there since your birth, and it will be there beyond your death. To ground yourself is to consciously connect with this inner bedrock, to feel your feet on the floor and imagine yourself drilling down, past the soil, past the clay, until you anchor yourself in the absolute stability of your own being. Living from this citadel does not mean you will no longer experience storms. The mountain is not immune to blizzards. It means that when the storms come, you will no longer be lost in them. You will have a place to stand. When anger arises, you can feel its fiery energy in your body. But because you are the mountain, you have the space to witness it without being consumed by it. You can choose to respond with wisdom rather than react with blind force. When deep sadness comes to visit, you can allow the rain to fall, knowing that the core of you is not being washed away. This is the foundation of emotional sobriety. It is the unshakable ground you need to stand upon to do the courageous work of meeting your shadow. So, this is your practice. Return to the mountain. Return to the bedrock. Every day, take a few moments to disengage from the weather report of your mind and simply rest in the silent, spacious awareness that is your true home. When the winds of life blow fiercely, feel your feet on the ground and remember what lies beneath the shifting soil. Remember that you are the stillness, not the storm. You are the silence, not the noise. You are the mountain. And when you become truly established in this inner quiet, when you are no longer deafened by the howling gales of your own thinking, something remarkable happens. You begin to hear a more subtle sound, a different kind of language, carried on a different kind of wind. You start to perceive a communication that has been there all along, waiting patiently for you to become still enough to listen. You begin to hear the whispering universe. Resting now in the silence of the mountain, anchored to the bedrock of your own being, you discover that this inner stillness is not an empty void. It is not an absence. It is a state of profound receptivity. It is an act of listening, but we have been trained our whole lives to listen only for the loudest sounds. We wait for a booming voice from the heavens, a clear command from our superiors, an urgent shout from the chaos of the world. We expect guidance to be loud, direct, and unmistakable. And so, we miss the actual language of the universe, the native tongue of the soul. For the universe does not shout, it whispers. Its guidance comes not as a command, but as a subtle pressure, like the feeling of the wind changing direction. Its truth arrives not as a new piece of information, but as a faint echo of a song you have always known. To hear this language, you must first understand the noise that drowns it out. Imagine that your ordinary, everyday mind is a vast, chaotic marketplace. It is crowded, and it is deafeningly loud. The vendors are your thoughts, and they are all shouting for your attention. The vendor of worry is screaming about what might go wrong tomorrow. The vendor of regret is yelling about what you should have done yesterday. The vendor of ambition is shouting about the next goal you must achieve, while the vendor of inadequacy is whispering poisonously that you will never be good enough to reach it. The customers in this market are your desires and your fears, and they are constantly haggling, creating a relentless clamor. I want this, but I am afraid of the price. I need that, but what will people think? And underneath it all is the constant, droning noise of the crowd, the endless stream of news, social media, advertisements, and the opinions of others that you absorb every single day. This is the state in which we live our lives, standing in the dead center of a noisy, frantic marketplace, being pulled in 1,000 directions at once, deafened by the roar. Now imagine the universe is trying to communicate with you. It sends a gentle messenger, a subtle intuition, a quiet gut feeling. How could this messenger possibly be heard over the din? Its whisper is completely drowned out by the shouting vendor of your anxiety. The universe then tries to show you a sign, a meaningful synchronicity. You hear the same rare word 3 times in one day. You see a symbol that is deeply personal to you in an unexpected place. But in the marketplace, you dismiss it. Your logical mind, the chief haggler, declares it a mere coincidence, a random quirk, because it cannot assign it a practical value or fit it into a neat, rational box. You are too distracted, too overstimulated, too deafened by the noise of your own thinking to perceive the subtle, elegant patterns that are being woven into the fabric of your life. The first and most crucial step in hearing the universe is not to try harder to listen. It is to simply, quietly, step out of the marketplace. This is the purpose of the inner citadel you have built. The practice of meditation, of mindfulness, of returning to the silent mountain, is the act of walking away from the frantic square and finding a quiet hill just outside the city walls. You do not try to silence the market. That is an impossible task. The market will always be there. From your peaceful vantage point on the hill, its noise fades into a distant, manageable hum. You are no longer in it. You are the observer of it. And it is here, in this newfound quiet, that you begin to perceive other, more subtle sounds. You begin to feel the wind. The wind is the ancient symbol for spirit, for that which is unseen but can be clearly felt. This is your intuition, It is the inexplicable pull you feel towards a certain book, a certain place, a certain person. It is the subtle feeling of yes in your body when you consider one path, and the feeling of contraction and no when you consider another. The wind does not offer logical explanations. It does not present a 5-point plan. It is simply a pressure, a nudge, a quiet knowing that bypasses the intellect entirely. It is the compass of the soul, and its needle is only visible in the stillness. From your quiet hill, you also begin to hear the echo. The echo is the resonance of truth within your own being. Have you ever read a sentence in a book or heard a line in a song, and it strikes you with such force that you have to stop and catch your breath? It feels less like learning something new and more like remembering something you have known forever. Your entire body vibrates with a profound yes. That is the echo. It is the universe reflecting a piece of your own forgotten wisdom back to you. It is your soul recognizing its own signature in the outside world. In the noisy marketplace, these moments are quickly lost, dismissed as fleeting feelings. But from the quiet hill, you learn to cherish them. You collect them like sacred stones. They become your guideposts, reminding you of the person you truly are beneath all the noise. They confirm that you are on the right path. With this receptive awareness, you begin to see that synchronicities are not accidents. They are the universe's way of winking at you. They are cairns, small piles of stones left on the trail to let you know you are heading in the right direction. This is not about becoming superstitious or looking for omens under every rock. It is a far more elegant and intimate dance. It is about cultivating a relationship with the mystery, a state of open and curious partnership with the intelligence of life itself. It is about trusting that you are being guided, even when you cannot see the full map. This guidance speaks in symbols, in feelings, in patterns, in whispers. Learning its language requires the same patience and immersion as learning any new tongue. You must be willing to listen without always understanding immediately. You must trust the feeling more than the thought. So, the path to divine guidance is not a path of striving, but of surrender. It is not about straining to hear a distant voice, but about becoming quiet enough to perceive the whispers that are already here. The universe has been speaking to you your entire life. It has never been silent. Your mind has simply been too loud. So, your work is simple, though not always easy. Step out of the marketplace every day. Take your seat on the quiet hill of your own awareness. Feel for the subtle direction of the wind. Listen for the deep, resonant hum of the echo. Trust the signs that appear on your path. And as you learn to listen in this new way, you will begin to notice that the guidance consistently points you in a particular direction. The whispers always nudge you away from struggle, away from force, away from the places where you have to swim against the current. They are trying to teach you the great secret of ease. They are inviting you to stop fighting and to finally enter the powerful, intelligent, and graceful current of the great river of life. Having learned to quiet the mind enough to hear the universe whisper, you begin to notice the nature of its guidance. It consistently nudges you away from effortful striving and towards a state of graceful ease. It is inviting you to take the ultimate step of trust. It is inviting you to enter the river of life. Imagine this river as the Tao, the sacred, intelligent, and ceaseless flow of existence itself. It moves with profound purpose and wisdom from its hidden source in the mountains, carving its path through the world on its inevitable journey to the great ocean of consciousness. You were born in this river. Its current is your very life force. And yet, from our first moments, we are taught to fear it. We are taught that the river is dangerous, chaotic, and untrustworthy. We are handed a set of oars and told that our purpose in life is to fight its current, to control its direction, to force it to go where our limited, fearful minds believe it should go. We are taught, in essence, that the goal of life is to paddle upstream. And in this single, tragic misunderstanding lies the root of all human suffering. There are only two ways to exist in this river. You can live in resistance, or you can live in flow. Let us first speak of the agony of resistance. Picture yourself in a small boat on this vast, powerful river. The current is moving steadily downstream, but you have been told your destination lies upstream, and so you begin to paddle. You dig your oars into the water and pull with all your might. Your muscles strain, your teeth are gritted. Your brow is slick with the sweat of immense effort. You are focused on one thing and one thing only, battling the current. The boat inches forward, a temporary victory. But the moment you pause to catch your breath, the river effortlessly pulls you back. The frustration is immense. The work is exhausting. You look at others who seem to be paddling harder, their boats slightly ahead of yours, and you feel envy and shame. You look at the powerful, indifferent current, and you feel anger and resentment. Why must it be so hard? You cry out. Why won't life just cooperate with my plans? This is the feeling of staying in a soul-crushing job because you fear the uncertainty of leaving. It is the feeling of trying to force a dying relationship back to life, clinging to a memory instead of accepting the reality before you. It is the agonizing act of arguing with what is, constantly replaying events in your mind, wishing they had been different. Every should have and shouldn't have is another desperate stroke of the oar against the current of what has already happened. Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we choose this exhausting battle? The resistance comes from the ego, the mind-made self. The ego's primary drive is for control, and its deepest fear is of the unknown. The ego looks at the powerful, mysterious river and is terrified. It does not know where the river is going. It cannot see around the next bend. This uncertainty is intolerable to the ego, so it creates its own map, its own rigid 5-year plan, and declares that its map is superior to the wisdom of the river that has been flowing for eternity. This is the ultimate act of hubris. To resist the flow of life is to declare war on existence itself. It is a war you cannot and will not ever win. The river is infinitely more powerful than your small, finite will. You can spend your entire life paddling upstream, and your reward will not be victory. It will be splintered oars, a broken body, and a bitter, exhausted spirit. You will arrive at the end of your days having fought life every step of the way, having never once looked around to see the beauty of the journey itself. Now, picture the turning point. The boater, in a final, desperate surge of effort, puts all their weight into one last stroke. There is a sharp crack. The oar splinters in their hands, useless. The fight is over. Utterly defeated, they collapse into the bottom of the boat. This is the moment of surrender. This is the gift of burnout, the grace of hitting rock bottom, the sacred moment when the ego's frantic struggle is finally proven to be futile. In this moment of collapse, something miraculous occurs. The boat, no longer being forced against the current, slowly, gently, turns itself around. It begins to drift. The agonizing sound of struggle is replaced by the soft, rhythmic lapping of water against the hull. The boater, lying on their back, opens their eyes. For the first time, they see the sky. They see the clouds drifting. They feel the warmth of the sun on their face. They sit up and look around. They see the lush, green riverbanks, the soaring birds, the dappled light on the water, a world of beauty they were completely blind to while they were fighting. A profound peace settles over them. This is surrender. It is crucial to understand what this surrender is not. It is not weakness. It is not passive resignation. It is not giving up on life. It is the exact opposite. It is giving up the fight against life so you can finally begin to participate in it. Surrender is the release of the ego's arrogant belief that it knows best. It is an act of supreme intelligence, an alignment of your small personal will with the vast, universal will of the river. It is a courageous declaration of trust in the benevolent intelligence of life itself. There is a saying, "Let go or be dragged." The one who resists is dragged, kicking and screaming, by the current. The one who lets go is carried. This is the state of flow. When you live in flow, you are dancing with life. There is a sense of ease and rightness. The right people and opportunities seem to appear just when you need them, not because you hunted them down, but because the river brought them to you. When you encounter an obstacle, a large rock in the middle of the stream, you do not waste your energy trying to smash it. You trust that the current knows the way around it. You learn to be like water, yielding and soft, yet powerful enough to carve canyons. Your intuition, the whispers you have learned to hear, becomes your guide. It is your internal sense of the river's current. A feeling of expansion, joy, and ease is the feeling of being in the flow. A feeling of contraction, frustration, and struggle is the feeling of your oar hitting the water, a sign that you are trying to move against the current. The choice is always yours, in every moment. Will you pick up the oars of your anxious, controlling mind and continue the exhausting, futile battle against the river? Or will you find the courage to let them go? Will you trust that the current that guides the galaxies and blossoms the flowers knows the way? Will you allow yourself to be carried, with grace and power, towards the great, welcoming ocean of your true home? The river knows the way, but does this mean you are simply a piece of passive driftwood, with no say in your destiny to number? This is the great paradox and the great beauty of it all. Once you surrender to the current, once you stop wasting your energy on fighting, you are given a new and far more potent form of power. You are no longer focused on propulsion. You are now free to focus on creation. You can begin to consciously and lovingly plant seeds on the fertile banks of the river you travel. This is the sacred power of intention. Having surrendered the oars and entrusted yourself to the wise and powerful current of the river of life, you now float in a state of grace. The frantic struggle has ceased. The war against reality is over, and in the silence that follows, a new question arises from the depths of your being. What now? What is my role in this journey if I am no longer paddling? This is a profound question, and its answer reveals the shift from a life of brute force to a life of elegant power. You are not a helpless piece of driftwood at the mercy of the currents. You are a conscious creator. Your surrender was not an abdication of power. It was the prerequisite for accessing a power that is infinitely greater than mere muscle. Having given up the oars, you are now free to use your hands for a far more sacred task, the planting of seeds. This is the power of intention. To understand it, we must look to two of nature's most humble and miraculous symbols, the acorn and the mustard seed. Before we proceed, we must draw a clear distinction between true, conscious intention and its distorted cousin, egoic wanting. Egoic wanting is born from a feeling of lack. It is the grasping, needy cry of a part of you that believes it is broken and that it needs something from the outside world, a person, a possession, an accomplishment to become whole. This kind of wanting is filled with tension, with anxiety, with a desperate attachment to the outcome. It is like holding a seed in your fist and squeezing it so tightly that you crush it before it ever has a chance to grow. True intention is born from a completely different place. It arises not from lack, but from fullness. It is the natural, joyful impulse of a soul that knows it is already whole and simply wishes to express its creative nature in the world. It is not a needy plea, but a calm and clear declaration. It is the artist standing before a blank canvas, not begging for a painting to appear, but calmly intending, I will create beauty here. Intention is the focusing of your consciousness. It is a fundamental law of the universe that where attention goes, energy flows. A scattered, anxious mind dissipates its energy in 1,000 different directions. A clear, focused intention is like a laser beam. It gathers the diffuse light of your life force and focuses it into a coherent point of power that begins to organize the quantum field of infinite possibility around a specific, chosen reality. It creates a vibrational mold, a spiritual blueprint, into which the substance of the universe can then begin to pour. Consider the miracle of an acorn. If you hold one in the palm of your hand, what do you see? A small, hard, unassuming brown object. It seems inert, insignificant, but what lies dormant within it? Not just a tree, but a specific tree. The entire blueprint of a mighty oak is encoded in its spiritual DNA. The plan for its powerful, anchoring roots, the design of its thick, resilient trunk, the architecture of its 1,000 sprawling branches, and the shape of every single leaf that will one day drink the sunlight, it is all there, waiting silently within that tiny shell. The acorn does not struggle. It does not worry about how it will find enough soil, or water, or light. It does not strain to become an oak tree. Its only job is to be, with perfect integrity, an acorn, and to surrender itself completely to the process of growth when the right conditions are met. Your intention is this acorn. It must be clear, specific, and filled with the integrity of your desire. A vague intention like, "I want to be happy," is like a seed with a corrupted blueprint. The universe doesn't know what to grow. A clearer intention, like, "I choose to create a life filled with deep peace, loving relationships, and joyful creative expression," provides a much more coherent blueprint. But the blueprint is not enough. A seed can hold its potential for 1,000 years and never grow. It requires activation. It needs water. The water that activates the seed of your intention is feeling. You must feel the reality of what you intend before it has manifested. This is the great secret. You do not plant the seed with thought alone. You plant it with the embodied emotion of the wish already fulfilled. While holding the acorn of your intention, you must also feel the cool shade of the mighty oak tree. You must feel the strength of its trunk, the deep peace of its presence. You generate this feeling within you, in the present moment. This feeling is the signal you are sending to the universe. The thought is the blueprint. The feeling is the magnetic power that draws the materials for its construction. And so, the process of planting is an act of sacred imagination. In a quiet, meditative state while resting on the shore of your still lake, you form the clear picture of your intention. Then, you step into that picture. How does it feel to live in that reality? Generate that feeling in your body now. Does it feel like peace, relief, joy, gratitude? Anchor yourself in that feeling. This is the moment of conception. The seed is planted. And now comes the most important part, the part that requires the most wisdom and trust, the part that links the power of intention directly to the surrender to the river. Once the seed is planted, you must let it go. You must release it. You must give it to the current. A gardener who plants a seed does not dig it up every morning to see if it has sprouted. To do so would be to kill it. In the same way, once you have planted your intention with clarity and feeling, your work is done. To constantly worry about it, to check for results, to doubt the process, is to dig up your own seed. You must surrender the how and the when to the infinite intelligence of the river. Your job was to create the acorn. The river's job is to provide the soil, the sun, and the rain. It is a divine collaboration. You trust that the same life force that flawlessly guides the acorn to become the oak is now working on your behalf. Your ongoing role is simply one of faith. You continue to water the seed with feelings of gratitude and trust, knowing that it is growing in the unseen realm, according to its own perfect timing. This is the great shift in your creative orientation. You have moved from the masculine, egoic energy of forcing and striving paddling upstream to the feminine, soul-level energy of allowing, receiving, and nurturing, planting a seed and trusting the flow. You are no longer a warrior fighting against life. You have become a conscious gardener, working in loving partnership with it. You understand that your power lies not in controlling the world, but in controlling the garden of your own consciousness. You choose your seeds with care, with love, with clarity. You plant them with focused feeling and unwavering faith. And then you rest, knowing that the magnificent, intelligent processes of the universe are bringing your harvest to fruition. We have spoken of planting this seed in the fertile soil of your consciousness. But where, precisely, is this fertile ground located? It cannot be found in the barren fields of the past, for that is only a memory. It cannot be found in the phantom lands of the future, for that is only a projection. There is only one time, one place, that holds the power to create. The only soil in which any seed can ever truly be planted is the rich, dark, and powerful soil of the eternal now. We have arrived at the most crucial point in our journey of decoding. We have spoken of planting the seed of your intention into fertile soil. Now we must ask the most practical and profound question of all. Where is this fertile soil to be found? The answer is at once shatteringly simple, and for the human mind, the most difficult to accept. The only place you can ever plant a seed, the only place where life happens, the only point of power you will ever have, is right here, right now, in this present moment. But look at the state of our consciousness. Where does the mind live? It lives almost exclusively in two places that do not exist, the past and the future. We are a species of time travelers, lost in phantom worlds of our own making. We spend our days ruminating on the graveyard of memory, or rehearsing for a future that will never arrive as we imagine it. We have forgotten that all of life, every sunrise, every breath, every heartbeat of your entire existence, has only ever occurred in the space of now. The now is not a fleeting moment passing from future to past. It is the eternal, ever-present stage upon which the drama of time unfolds. To truly understand this is to find the key that unlocks all other doors. The symbols for this key are the standing stone and the portal. Let us first examine the prison of psychological time, the cage your mind has built for you. It is essential to distinguish it from clock time. Clock time is a useful convention for the practical world. It allows us to schedule a meeting, to cook an egg, to catch a train. Psychological time is a disease of the mind. It is the endless compulsion to dwell on the past and worry about the future. Consider the past. What is it really? It does not exist. The events are gone. They have vanished forever into nothingness. All that remains is a ghost, a collection of memories and interpretations stored in your mind, and a residue of emotions stored in your body. Yet, we give this ghost absolute power over our present reality. We allow the dead hand of the past to steer the ship of our lives. We identify with our stories. I am the person who was hurt. I am the one who failed. I am defined by my past successes. We are trying to live in a house that no longer exists. We are trying to plant the seed of our intention in a field of ashes, and we wonder why nothing grows. Then there is the future. The future is also a ghost, a phantom of the mind. It has no reality. It is a mental projection, a canvas for our hopes, and more often, our anxieties. We sacrifice the living reality of the present moment for this non-existent future. We endure a job we hate now for the promise of a peaceful retirement later. We rush through a conversation with a loved one now, our minds already on the next task. We live in a state of not yet, constantly striving towards a future destination where we believe we will finally be happy, whole, or at peace. Worry is the primary activity in this future-oriented state. To worry is to suffer over something that has not happened and may never happen. It is the absurd act of paying interest on a debt you may not even owe. This constant leaning into the future, or dwelling in the past, creates a state of perpetual unease. It is the source of all stress, all regret, all anxiety. It is to be disconnected from life itself, because life is never happening in the past or the future. Life is only ever happening now. How then do we escape this prison? We become the standing stone. Picture in your mind an ancient menhir, a single, massive stone standing upright in a vast, open field. It has been there for 5,000 years. Every morning, the sun rises, and every evening, it sets. The stone's shadow stretches long, then shrinks to nothing, then stretches long again. The seasons circle around it in an endless dance. Spring wildflowers bloom at its base, then wither. Summer's sun beats down upon it. Autumn leaves skitter past it in the wind. Winter's snows blanket its shoulders. The stone witnesses all of this. It experiences the heat and the cold. It feels the wind and the rain. But it is not the sunrise. It is not the winter. It is the silent, changeless, eternal presence that allows the seasons and the days to be perceived. You are this standing stone, your deepest essence, the core of your being. Your I am is this timeless presence. The story of your life, with all its triumphs and tragedies, its joys and its sorrows, is like the changing weather. It happens to you, but it is not you. To be present is to shift your identification from the fleeting weather of your life to the eternal stone of your being. You can access this reality through your body. Your body is always, and only ever, in the now. Your breath is happening now. Your heartbeat is now. The feeling of the air on your skin is now. To anchor your attention in the raw, living sensations of your inner body is the most direct path to rooting yourself in the now, to becoming the standing stone that witnesses the ceaseless flow of thought and emotion without being swept away. As you become more established as this silent presence, the now reveals its second great secret. It is not just a point on a line, it is a portal. Imagine the stream of time as a horizontal line, with the past to the left and the future to the right. We spend our lives running back and forth along this line. The present moment, in this model, seems like an infinitesimally small and insignificant point. But this is the illusion. The now is actually a vertical doorway, a portal leading out of the horizontal dimension of time altogether. When you are truly present, not thinking about the present, but simply inhabiting it with your full attention, the stream of thought subsides. In the gap between two thoughts, you have the opportunity to fall through this portal. What lies on the other side? Being, pure, undifferentiated consciousness, the timeless, formless dimension within you. Eckhart Tolle calls this the unmanifested. This is the source of all true power, creativity, peace, and intelligence. This is the ultimate fertile soil. An intention planted from the anxious, time-bound mind is weak, tainted by fear and lack. An intention planted from the state of being accessed through the portal of the Nous, aligned with the creative power of the universe itself. It is a command issued from the very source of reality. This is your point of power, not yesterday, not tomorrow, here, now. All the energy you expend regretting the past is a leakage of your life force. All the energy you expend worrying about the future is a hemorrhage of your power. Your sacred task is to reclaim this energy, to consciously withdraw it from the phantom worlds of past and future, and to invest it fully, completely, into this one real moment. Become the standing stone, rooted in the timeless reality of your own presence. Use your breath, your senses, the feeling of life in your body as an anchor. From this place of stillness, you will find the portal. And as you learn to stand firmly in the power of this eternal now, you become acutely aware of a profound truth. Every thought, every word, every action you generate in this moment is a cause that creates an immediate and unerring effect. You begin to see, with startling clarity, the perfect and impersonal mechanics of the universe. You begin to understand the true meaning of the unseen scales of karma. As you learn to stand in the profound power of the eternal now, you become aware of an immutable law that operates in every single moment. It is a law as real, as impersonal, and as reliable as gravity. This law is known in the East by a single powerful word, a word that has been widely misunderstood in the West: karma. When you hear the word karma, you may think of a cosmic system of reward and punishment, of good deeds being tallied in a celestial ledger to be rewarded in a future life, and bad deeds being punished by some unforeseen tragedy down the road. This interpretation, while popular, is a distortion of the original, far more profound teaching. It turns a beautiful law of physics into a fearful system of morality. To truly understand your power as a creator, you must discard this childish notion of cosmic revenge. The word karma simply means action. It describes the universe's perfect and immediate law of cause and effect. It is not a moral law. It is a law of energy. It is the principle of the unseen scales, which are never out of balance, not even for a second. The most profound misunderstanding of karma is that its effects are delayed. The truth is that the primary consequence of any action is instantaneous. The action is its own consequence. Let us make this perfectly clear. If you choose in this moment to act with malice or speak with anger, the immediate karmic result is not that something bad will happen to you next week. The immediate and unavoidable result is that in this very moment, you have filled your own consciousness with the poison of malice. You have chosen to experience the constricted, painful, and toxic vibration of anger within your own body and mind. You become the anger. You are the poison. The punishment is not coming later. It is inherent in the act itself. You have already sentenced yourself to the suffering of that low-frequency state. Conversely, if you choose to perform an act of genuine, selfless kindness, the immediate karmic reward is not a lottery win in your future. The immediate reward is that in this moment, you are filled with the expansive, warm, and beautiful energy of love and compassion. You become love. That feeling, that state of being, is the reward in its totality. You have elevated the quality of your own consciousness, which is the only true wealth you will ever possess. Imagine your consciousness as a perfectly still, clear lake. Every action you take, and a thought, is an action. A feeling is an actionist, a stone dropped into that lake. An act of jealousy is a sharp, jagged stone that creates tight, chaotic ripples. An act of forgiveness is a smooth, round stone that creates wide, harmonious, symmetrical ripples. The state of your lake, in every moment, is determined by the stones you are choosing to drop into it. This is the primary, instantaneous effect of karma. You are not waiting for a future consequence. You are living inside the ripples of your present actions, right now. Your life is the quality of your own lake. Now we can speak of the secondary aspect of karma, the effect that plays out in the external world. This operates through the universal law of reciprocity, or the law of attraction. The state of your lake, the quality of the ripples you are generating, creates a powerful energetic signal, a vibrational signature that you are constantly broadcasting to the universe. The universe, in its perfect, impersonal wisdom, does not judge your signal as good or bad. It simply matches it. It acts as a perfect mirror, reflecting your own energy back to you in the form of people, circumstances, and events. If you are consistently dropping stones of blame, victimhood, and fear into your lake, you are broadcasting a low-frequency signal of contraction. The universe, in its function as a balancing mechanism, will faithfully arrange for you to meet people who will blame you, circumstances that will affirm your victimhood, and events that will justify your fear. This is not a punishment, it is a reflection. It is the unseen scales restoring balance by bringing you an external reality that perfectly matches your internal reality. If, on the other hand, you consciously choose to drop stones of gratitude, love, and trust into your lake, you broadcast a high-frequency signal of expansion. The universe will then, by law, bring you experiences that resonate with this signal. You will meet loving people. You will encounter opportunities for which to be grateful. You will find yourself in circumstances that validate your trust in life. This is not a reward for being a good person. It is the law of energetic resonance. This redefines our entire understanding of morality. It is no longer a case of following external rules to avoid future punishment. It is a case of understanding the physics of consciousness. A sin is not an infraction against a divine law. It is any action that lowers your own state of consciousness and separates you from the feeling of love. A virtue is not an act of obedience. It is any action that raises your own state of consciousness and aligns you with the energy of love. The motivation for your actions becomes profoundly intrinsic. You choose kindness not to earn points for heaven, but because you wish to experience the immediate feeling of kindness in your own soul. You avoid cruelty, not for fear of hell, but because you understand that to be cruel is to condemn yourself to the immediate personal hell of a consciousness filled with cruelty. When you grasp this law in its elegant simplicity, it leads to the most empowering and, for the ego, the most terrifying realization of all. You are radically and completely responsible for your experience of life. The concept of being a victim becomes an impossibility. You can no longer blame your parents, your society, your past, or the world for your unhappiness, because you understand that your experience of reality is a perfect mirror of the energy you are choosing to broadcast in this present moment. This is the end of the blame game. It is the end of all excuses. It is the beginning of true freedom. It means that if you wish to change your world, you do not attempt to manipulate the external reflection. You turn your attention inward to the only place you have any real power, the choice of what stone you will drop into the lake of your consciousness, right here, right now. This is the true meaning of creating your own reality. It is not wishful thinking. It is the moment-to-moment, deliberate and conscious management of your own energetic output. So, look upon the unseen scales not with fear, but with reverence. They are not the tool of a judgmental God, but the perfect feedback system of an intelligent and loving universe, designed to teach you how to create. The energy you are is the world you will inhabit. The ripples you create are the life you will experience. Therefore, choose your thoughts, your words, and your actions with great care, not for fear of what might happen tomorrow, but for the love of what you will become in this very moment. When you fully accept this profound responsibility, you realize that you are not merely a passive participant dropping stones into a lake. You are actively creating the very fabric of your reality, thread by thread, with the energy of your own consciousness. You are the one holding the shuttle and the loom. You are the weaver of reality. Having accepted the profound truth of karmathat, you are the source of the energy that creates your world. You now stand at the threshold of the ultimate realization. You are not a victim of fate. You are not a pawn in some cosmic game. You are not merely a character in a story that has already been written. You are the author. You are the artist. You are the weaver. Imagine that your life, with all its circumstances, relationships, and events, is a vast and intricate tapestry. For most of our lives, we experience ourselves as a single thread lost somewhere in this complex design. We feel pushed and pulled by unseen forces, woven into patterns we did not choose and cannot understand. We look at the tapestry of our life. Perhaps it is gray with sorrow, tangled with conflict, or thin with lack, and we feel a sense of helpless resignation. This, we believe, is simply our lot. But the great awakening occurs when you realize you have been looking from the wrong perspective. You are not the thread. You are the one sitting at the loom. Let us explore this sacred metaphor. Picture a great, ancient loom, the loom of consciousness itself. The vertical threads, stretched taut from top to bottom, are the warp. These threads represent the unmanifested, the quantum field of pure potential. They are the substance of the universe, the infinite possibilities that exist before a choice is made. This is the river of life, the silent, powerful energy that underlies all of creation. The warp is neutral, holding the potential for any color, any pattern. The horizontal threads are the weft. These are the threads that you, the weaver, introduce to create the design. And what are these threads? They are your dominant thoughts, your core beliefs, your habitual emotions, your spoken words. The shuttle, the tool that carries these threads back and forth across the warp, is your focused attention in the present moment. Wherever you place your attention, you are actively weaving. Now, understand this. For most of your life, you have been weaving unconsciously. As a child, you were handed a basket of threads. This basket was filled by your family, your culture, your education, your early experiences. For many, This basket contains the scratchy gray thread of worry. It contains the heavy black thread of resentment. It contains the thin, weak thread of self-doubt and the jagged red thread of anger. Because these were the only threads we knew, we began to weave with them automatically. We picked up the thread of worry every morning and wove it into the day ahead. We picked up the thread of an old grievance and wove it into our interactions. Our attention, the shuttle, flew back and forth, mechanically weaving these familiar, low-frequency threads into the fabric of our being. And then we would stand back, look at the chaotic, muddy, and painful tapestry of our life, and ask, who did this to me? Why is my life like this? We never realized that we were the one at the loom, with our own hands creating the very reality we lamented. The spiritual awakening is the moment the weaver wakes up. It is the moment you look down at your hands, at the shuttle, at the thread you are holding, and you realize, with a jolt that shakes your soul, I am doing this. I am weaving this pattern. And in the same breath, the most liberating thought a human being can have arises, if I am weaving this, then I can weave something else. You look at the basket of threads you were given, and you see it for what it is, an inheritance, not a life sentence. You realize you can put it down. You can seek out new threads. This is the beginning of conscious creation. Instead of automatically picking up the gray thread of anxiety about an upcoming meeting, you consciously, deliberately, choose to pick up the vibrant, golden thread of gratitude for the opportunity. You feel the texture of this new thread. You focus on it. You weave it, with your full attention, into the moment. Instead of reaching for the familiar heavy thread of resentment toward someone who wronged you, you pause. You choose instead the soft, shimmering, sky-blue thread of forgiveness, not for them, but for you, because you refuse to weave their darkness into your beautiful tapestry. Every thought you think is a pass of the shuttle. A single negative thought is just one thin thread. It has little impact. But a recurring thought, a habitual worry, a persistent belief, this is like passing the shuttle back and forth with the same color until it creates a thick, solid, unmissable band in your design. A belief is nothing more than a thought you keep thinking. You have woven it so many times that it has become a dominant feature of your reality. If you have consistently woven with the thread of, I am not worthy, the tapestry of your life will inevitably show you situations that reflect that unworthiness. If you weave with the thread of, life is a struggle, the universe will dutifully present you with a reality that is a struggle. The loom is impartial. It weaves whatever thread you give it. You must also understand that you are sitting very close to your work. You cannot see the whole design at once. You can only see the small section you are working on in the now. This requires a profound trust. When you first decide to change your threads, the results can look messy. As you begin to weave with the bright new threads of love, abundance, and peace, they will be right next to the old dark threads of fear and lack. The pattern may look confused and chaotic for a time. This is the critical period where many people lose faith. The outer world has not yet caught up to the new inner pattern, and so they conclude that the new threads are not working. They abandon their new, beautiful threads and return to the familiar, miserable comfort of the old ones. You must trust the process. You must know that if you consistently and faithfully choose the threads that feel like love, that feel like expansion, that feel like peace, the new pattern will eventually and inevitably emerge. The old, dark bands will recede into the past, and your creation will begin to glow with the light of the new colors you have chosen. You are literally reweaving your world, rewriting your story, one present moment thought at a time. This is your true work. This is your power. You are the weaver. Your life is your magnum opus, your masterpiece, the great work of your soul. Its beauty and its quality are not determined by your past, by your circumstances, or by fate. They are determined entirely by the threads you are choosing to put in the shuttle right now. So, choose consciously. Choose with love. Weave with joy. But a weaver, no matter how skilled, cannot create a masterpiece in darkness. To distinguish the golden thread of gratitude from the gray thread of worry, to see the vibrant colors of your own potential clearly, you need light. You cannot weave with precision and beauty if you are sitting in the gloom of ignorance and fear. To be a master of your craft, you must first illuminate your workshop. You must ignite your own inner flame. You are the weaver, sitting before the great loom of reality. You have learned that the threads of your thoughts and feelings create the tapestry of your life, and you are ready to choose your colors with conscious care. But as you sit in the silence of your own being, you notice a problem. The light is dim. The workshop is shrouded in gloom. How can you weave a masterpiece in the dark? How can you distinguish the vibrant thread of love from the dull gray thread of fear if you cannot see them clearly? And so begins a new stage of the journey, the search for light. This is one of the most ancient and universal of all human quests. We feel an inner darkness, a sense of confusion or emptiness, and we instinctively look for a source of light outside of ourselves to illuminate our way. We believe we are in a dark room, and we fumble desperately along the walls, searching for a switch that will flood the space with brilliance. We look for this light in many places. We look for it in knowledge, devouring books and attending lectures, collecting philosophies and spiritual concepts like a person gathering unlit candles. We line them up on our shelves, we admire their potential, but our room remains dark. We look for light in a guru, a teacher, or a spiritual guide. We find someone whose own flame is burning brightly, and we feel a wonderful sense of relief standing in their glow. Their light illuminates our path, and we feel safe, but it is a borrowed light. When we are alone again, when we return to the solitude of our own consciousness, we find the darkness is still there. We become dependent, a planet orbiting a distant star, forgetting that we are designed to be a star in our own right. We look for light in a romantic partner, hoping that their love will be the switch that finally banishes our inner shadows, that they will complete us and make us whole. This places an impossible and unfair burden upon them and sets the stage for codependency and inevitable disappointment. This entire desperate external search is based on a single fundamental and tragic misidentification. We have assumed without question that we are the darkness. We believe that we are inherently lacking, and that the light is something separate from us, something that must be found, earned, or imported from the outside. This belief is the ego's master deception, designed to keep you feeling small, needy, and forever seeking. The most liberating truth you will ever encounter is this: there is no switch on the wall. The light is not separate from you. You are the light. To grasp this, let us use a new metaphor. Your true self, the eternal, conscious being that you are, is the sun. It is vast, powerful, and self-luminous. It does not need to try to shine. Shining is its intrinsic, effortless nature. It is never not radiating warmth and light. It has been blazing in the center of your inner solar system for all of eternity. What then is the darkness, the confusion, the depression we feel? The darkness is not a real substance with any power of its own. Darkness is simply a shadow. It is the shadow cast by clouds. And what are these clouds? The clouds are the accumulated layers of your mind-made self, the ego. Every limiting belief you hold about yourself: I am not worthy, I am not lovable, I am brokenness, a thick, dark cloud. Every past trauma you have not processed, every resentment you cling to, every fear you feed with your attention, these are the clouds that drift across the sky of your consciousness. On a heavily overcast day, we might look up and say, "The sun is gone today." This is, of course, a lie. The sun has not gone anywhere. It is blazing as brilliantly as ever, right there behind the clouds. It is merely obscured from our limited vantage point on the ground. In precisely the same way, when we are lost in a state of deep anxiety or sorrow, we believe our inner light has been extinguished. We believe we are lost in the dark. but your light is never extinguished. It is merely, and always temporarily, obscured by the clouds of your own thinking. This changes everything. The spiritual journey is not, and has never been, a desperate struggle to create a sun. That would be an absurd and impossible task. The journey is simply to become a student of your own weather patterns. It is the practice of cloud gazing. You learn to observe the clouds of your mind as they drift by, without identifying with them. You realize that you are not the cloud of anger. You are not the fog of confusion. You are the vast, open, silent sky in which the clouds appear and disappear. And you are the sun that illuminates them. The work is not to fight the clouds, to try and push them away that only creates more turbulence. The work is to bring the light of your awareness to them. When you shine the light of non-judgmental attention upon a dark cloud of fear, it slowly begins to dissipate. It cannot survive in the light of loving awareness. Your work, then, is not to seek for light, but to remove the inner barriers you have built against your own radiance. How does one begin this practice of dissolving the clouds? You do not start by trying to become the sun. You start by lighting a single small candle. This candle is your conscious, moment-to-moment attention. It is your daily practice of mindfulness or meditation. When you first begin, it may feel that you are just this one tiny flame in an overwhelming and infinite darkness. The winds of your habitual thinking will threaten to blow it out at every moment. But this tiny flame is your salvation. This is the beginning of all true inner work. You learn to nurture this flame. You protect it. You feed it with your commitment and your patience. With the light of this one small candle, you can begin to see. You can see a single thought cloud as it drifts by without getting lost in its story. You can illuminate a single emotion as it arises in your body without being consumed by its fire. You learn to see that the terrifying monsters you imagined lurking in the darkness were only harmless shadows cast by your own unexamined beliefs. Slowly, steadily, you become a master of this candle. Its light grows stronger, more stable, and eventually, this light of conscious awareness illuminates the greatest truth of all. The darkness was never real. It was only ever an absence of the light that you yourself provide. And you realize, with a sudden flash of insight, that the flame of your tiny candle is made of the very same substance as the fire of the great Sunday. It is a spark of the magnificent star that you truly are. That is the moment you stop seeking for light and you begin to simply shine. So do not look outside of yourself for illumination. The guru you seek is the wisdom of your own silent awareness. The love that you believe will save you is the love that is radiating from the core of your own being. The teaching you are looking for is written in the language of your own breath. You are the light. The world is the room. Your only task is to stop hiding your own brilliance from yourself. Remember that you are the sun, and all the fears, doubts, and sorrows that plague you are nothing more than temporary clouds passing through the vast sky of your eternal nature. And now, as you begin to identify with this radiant source within, a natural curiosity arises. Where in the landscape of your being is the center of this Sunday? Where is its seat of power? The ancient wisdom traditions and our own deepest feelings point us to a single, sacred location within the body. The light of the soul does not shine from the head, it shines from the heart. You are the sun, a source of boundless, self-luminous light. You have realized that this radiance is your very nature, not something to be sought outside yourself. Now, we follow this light to its source, to the very center from which it emanates. Our entire culture, our entire system of education, has trained us to believe that the center of our being resides in our head. We are taught to think, to reason, to analyze, to strategize. The intellect is crowned king, the sole ruler of our inner world, and we spend our lives in service to its endless demands. But the ancient wisdom, the quiet truth that whispers in your own soul, tells a different story. The head, with all its brilliant logic, is a servant, not a master. The true throne of your inner kingdom The seat of your soul, the very epicenter of the sun that you are, is the heart. This is not a sentimental platitude. It is a profound, energetic reality. And the symbol for the heart's journey is one of the most beautiful we have: the unfolding of a rose. Let us first examine the domain of the current ruler, the thinking mind. The intellect is a magnificent and powerful tool. It can build bridges, compose symphonies, and solve complex equations. But it has a fundamental limitation. Its nature is dualistic. The mind works by chopping reality into pieces. It creates pairs of opposites: good and bad, right and wrong, success and failure, past and future, me and you. It cannot perceive wholeness. It is a measuring instrument, but it can never measure the immeasurable. To live solely from the head is to live in a state of perpetual conflict and separation. The mind is a problem-solving machine, and if it does not have a real problem to solve, it will create one. It will endlessly chew on a past event, or it will generate 1,000 potential future disasters to worry about. It lives in a world of concepts, of labels, of abstractions about life, but it can never touch life itself. To live in your head is to live in a small, windowless room, mistaking the room for the entire, vast landscape of reality. It is to feel disconnected from your own body, from the natural world, and from the deep current of life, because these things cannot be fully understood by logic. They can only be felt. There is another kind of intelligence, a deeper and more holistic wisdom that resides within you. It is the intelligence of the heart. Modern science is only just beginning to catch up to the ancient mystics, discovering that the heart has its own complex nervous system, a network of neurons so sophisticated it is often called the heart brain. This intelligence does not operate in a linear, logical fashion. It operates through feeling, through intuition, through a deep, holistic sense of knowing. The heart does not chop reality into pieces. It perceives the unity in all things. Its language is not words, but the subtle energies of expansion and contraction. When you consider a path that is in alignment with your soul's purpose, your heart center feels open and expansive. When you consider a path that is out of alignment, it feels tight and contracted. The heart is the seat of empathy, the organ that allows you to feel the reality of another being. It is the seat of courage. The very word has its root in cor, the Latin word for heart. True courage is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to act from an open heart, even in the presence of fear. You can learn to access this intelligence. It is a simple practice of shifting the focus of your awareness. Right now, your attention is likely centered in your head, behind your eyes, listening to these words as a stream of thoughts. Gently, lovingly, invite your attention to drop down, out of your head, and into the center of your chest. You can place a hand over your heart to help anchor your focus there. Now, simply breathe into this space. You are not trying to figure anything out. You are not waiting for a booming voice. You are simply listening in a new way. You are listening with your capacity to feel. Ask your heart a question, not in words, but in feeling. Bring to mind a decision you are facing. Instead of analyzing the pros and cons in your head, simply hold the essence of each choice in your heart and notice the feeling. Does one choice feel like ease and openness? Does the other feel like tension and resistance? The heart's intelligence is subtle, but it is unerring. It is your soul's compass. Your mind is the map, useful for navigating the terrain, but your heart is the compass that tells you your true north. For most of us, this heart center is not fully open. Life has taught us that an open heart is a vulnerable heart. Past hurts, betrayals, and disappointments have caused us to build protective walls. We have closed the petals of our inner rose to prevent further pain. This is a natural and understandable survival strategy. But the wall that keeps out the pain also keeps out the joy. The fortress that protects us from sorrow also imprisons us, cutting us off from love, from connection, and from the vibrant pulse of our own life force. Our rose remains a tight, closed bud. You cannot force this rose to bloom. You cannot pry its petals open with your will. To do so would be an act of violence against yourself. The rose of the heart opens only from within, when it feels safe, loved, and nurtured. It unfolds according to its own organic wisdom. How do you nurture your own heart? Every act of self-compassion is like a drop of gentle morning dew upon its petals. When you forgive yourself for a mistake, a petal softens. Every moment of genuine gratitude is like a ray of warm sunshine. When you take a moment to truly feel thankful for your breath, for a beautiful sunset, for the kindness of a stranger, you are feeding your rose with light. Every time you choose vulnerability over a defensive reaction, every time you speak your truth with kindness, every time you allow yourself to truly feel your grief without judgment, you are creating the safe, loving conditions that allow another petal to unfurl. This is a gentle, patient process. It is the work of a lifetime, but with each petal that opens, more of your true essence is released into the world. The fragrance of your soul, the unique perfume of your love, your wisdom, your joy can finally be shared. An open-hearted person does not need to do anything to heal the world. Their very presence is a healing force. So, the invitation is to enact a gentle revolution in your own inner kingdom. Allow the seat of your identity to migrate from the noisy, anxious parliament in your head to the silent, wise throne in your heart. Honor your mind as a brilliant and helpful consultant, but do not let it rule you. Return, again and again, to the quiet intelligence of your heart. Trust its feelings. Nurture its unfolding. Your heart knows the way, because it is the center of the light that you are. And as this sacred rose continues to open, a miraculous perception begins to dawn. The feeling of being a separate, isolated self, a lonely weaver at a solitary loom, begins to dissolve. Through the open senses of the heart, you begin to feel the invisible, shimmering threads that connect you to every other heart, to every other living being, to the stars and to the stones. You begin to see your true place in the vast, beautiful, and interconnected web of life. As the sacred rose of your heart unfolds, your perception of the world begins to fundamentally change. The hard, sharp edges of the self begin to soften. The rigid boundary that once clearly defined where I end and you begin starts to become porous, shimmering, and translucent. A feeling of empathy, deeper than you have ever known, a risesa, sense that the joy of another is somehow your joy, and the sorrow of another touches a place of sorrow within you. You must understand that this is not a mere sentimental feeling or a poetic flight of fancy. This is a glimpse into the actual nature of reality. The modern world is built upon the foundational illusion of the ego, the belief that we are separate, isolated individuals, competing for scarce resources on a dead rock floating in space. The fundamental truth of the universe, a truth known to mystics for millennia, is the exact opposite. The universe is a single, unified, living organism, and every part of it is profoundly and intricately interconnected. The symbols for this truth are as ancient as the mystical tree of life, and as modern as the astonishing scientific discovery of the mycelial network. Let us first contemplate the ancient symbol of the tree of life. It is an image that appears in nearly every mystical tradition on earth, from the Kabbalah of the Jewish mystics to the Norse tales of Yggdrasil. The image is one of a great tree, its branches reaching into the heavens, its trunk forming the axis of the world, and its roots digging deep into the nourishing darkness of the unseen earth. In our ordinary state of consciousness, we see ourselves as a single leaf on this great tree. We identify with our unique shape, our particular position on a certain twig. We compare ourselves to the other leaves. That leaf is larger than I am. This leaf is catching more sunlight. We live and die as a single, separate leaf, believing our story is entirely our own. But the journey of awakening is a journey of tracing your origin. You follow the stem of the leaf back to the twig, and you realize you are connected. You follow the twig back to the branch, and the branch back to the great, solid trunk. And you realize that you, and every other leaf you once thought of as separate, are all expressions of the one tree. You are all nourished by the same sap, the same life force, drawn up from the same mysterious root system. The life that animates you is the very same life that animates every other being. To awaken to this truth is to stop identifying with the temporary leaf and to realize yourself as the eternal tree. The joys and sorrows of the world are not happening to you, the leaf. They are the experiences of the entire organism that is you. This ancient, mystical intuition is now being confirmed by the startling discoveries of modern science. If you walk into a forest, you see what appears to be a collection of thousands of individual trees. The oak is competing with the maple for sunlight. The birch is competing with the pine for water. This is the world as the ego sees it, a collection of separate beings in a constant struggle for survival. But if you could see beneath the forest floor, you would witness a reality that would shatter this illusion forever. You would see a vast, shimmering, infinitely complex network of tiny white fungal threads known as a mycelial network. This network, sometimes called the wood wide web, connects the root system of almost every single tree in the forest. It is a biological internet, a subterranean nervous system that allows the entire forest to behave as a single, intelligent superorganism. Scientists have tracked radioactive isotopes and discovered that the larger, healthier mother trees actively send sugars and life-giving carbon through this network to nourish the smaller, struggling saplings that are deprived of sunlight. They have observed trees sending chemical distress signals through the network to warn their neighbors of an insect attack, allowing them to raise their defenses in advance. The forest is not a competition. It is a profound, breathtaking model of cooperation, communication, and mutual support. Humanity is this forest. On the surface, in the world of our egos, we appear to be separate, competing trees. But beneath the surface of our individual minds, we are all interconnected by a vast, unseen mycelial network of consciousness. Your thoughts are not private. Your emotional state is not contained within your own skin. Every thought you think, every feeling you cultivate, is a chemical signal that you are sending out into this shared network. When you cultivate a state of fear, anxiety, and judgment, you are releasing a poison, a distress signal, that contributes to the fear and anxiety of the entire collective. When you consciously choose to cultivate a state of peace, compassion, and love, you are sending nourishing, life-giving energy through the web, contributing to the health and well-being of the whole. This is the true, functional basis for ethics and morality. It is not about following a set of external rules to be a good person. It is about understanding that what you do to another, you are literally, energetically, doing to yourself. To harm another is to poison the very network that sustains your own life. To heal another, to support another, to love another, is to send healing nourishment through the web that will inevitably find its way back to you, because there is no back to you. There is only the one system. Your healing is my healing, my joy is your joy. To live with this awareness is to move through the world in a new way. The illusion of ruthless self-interest dissolves, replaced by a deep understanding of enlightened self-interest, which knows that the well-being of the self is inseparable from the well-being of the whole. You begin to see the face of yourself in every being you meet: the cashier at the grocery store, the driver in the car next to you, the bird singing outside your window. These are not separate objects in your world. They are other nodes in the same vast network of being that you are. Your interactions with them are energy exchanges that affect the entire web. This is not a burden, but a beautiful and empowering responsibility. You are an integral, vital part of a living, breathing, conscious universe. The health of the whole web depends on the quality of the energy you contribute. Look upon the world not as a collection of separate things, but as a single, unified body of which you are a precious cell. And if you truly allow yourself to feel the profundity of this interconnectedness, you are brought face to face with the ego's most fundamental premise, its original lie, the very foundation upon which its shaky kingdom is built. Having seen the truth of the web, we must now turn and directly confront the great phantom that denies it, the deep, persistent, and powerful illusion of separation. You feel the truth of the great web, the profound and undeniable reality that you are connected to all of life. To truly anchor this understanding in your being, we must now use its light to illuminate the deepest shadow in the human psyche, the original story, the foundational lie upon which all other suffering is built. This is the illusion of separation. The entire identity of your ego, the person you believe yourself to be, is constructed around the central belief that you are a separate entity. It is the feeling of being an I that is fundamentally disconnected from the vast universe of not I. This feeling is so pervasive, so fundamental, that we never think to question it. But it is this very feeling, this illusion, that is the source of all our loneliness, all our fear, and all our conflict. The spiritual journey, at its core, is the patient and courageous dismantling of this primary illusion. To do this, we will use the symbols of the island and the ocean. Imagine that your ego, your sense of being a separate self, is an island. It has a clearly defined shoreline, a boundary that marks where me ends and the rest of the world begins. The ego's entire life project is the maintenance and defense of this shoreline. It looks out at the vast, unpredictable, and powerful ocean of life and feels threatened. It builds seawalls of defensiveness to protect itself from the crashing waves of criticism or change. It constructs watchtowers of judgment and comparison to survey the other islands, assessing if they are larger, smaller, or a potential threat. It fears the natural process of erosion, clinging desperately to its current shape and size. The core experience of being this island self is one of profound and inescapable loneliness. It is a state of perpetual anxiety, for the island knows, on a deep, instinctual level, that it is small and vulnerable in the face of the immense, overwhelming power of the ocean. The ego believes that its survival depends on reinforcing this separation, on strengthening its walls, on maintaining its distinct identity at all costs. It does not realize that this very project of separation is the source of all its suffering. Now, let us shift the metaphor to the surface of the ocean itself. Look out upon its vast expanse. You see countless waves. Each wave appears to be a separate thing. It has a birth as it swells and rises from the deep. It has a life as it travels across the surface, holding its unique shape and form for a time. And it has a death as it reaches the shore and crashes into foam. The ego identifies with the wave. It says, "I am this wave. I was born a moment ago, and I will die a moment from now. My purpose is to become the biggest, most impressive wave I can be. I must compete with the other waves for energy." The wave lives in a state of constant striving and comparison, and it is haunted by the absolute terror of its own impending dissolution. It sees the crash upon the shore as its annihilation, the end of its existence. But one day, in a moment of great clarity, the wave has an awakening. It realizes the profound truth of its own nature. It realizes that its essential substance is not waveness. Its essential substance is water, and it is the exact same water as the wave next to it and the wave next to that. It realizes, with a sudden shock of liberation, I am not in the ocean is in me. In fact, I am the ocean, expressing itself for a moment as this unique and temporary form. This single realization changes everything. The fear of death vanishes. How can the ocean die? It is impossible. The crashing of the wave upon the shore is no longer seen as a tragic end, but as a joyful homecoming. It is a return to the source. The energy that was temporarily bound up in that form is released back into the whole, ready to become a new wave, a new cloud, a new drop of rain. The wave understands that its form was temporary, but its essence, the water, is eternal. You are not the wave, you are the ocean. Your body, your personality, your life story, these are the temporary form of the wave. Your true self, the conscious being that you are, is the water. Let us return to our island. The spiritual path is the process of becoming a geologist of your own soul. You begin to investigate the nature of your own island. You are no longer content to just patrol the shoreline. You begin to dig. You dig past the sandy beaches of your superficial personality. You dig past the dense clay of your emotional history. You dig deep into the bedrock of your own being. And as you dig, you make the most astounding discovery. The rock that makes up your island is continuous with the rock of the ocean floor. Your island is not a separate entity floating on the ocean. It is a part of the one single planet, a part of the one unified Earth that has temporarily risen up above the surface of the water. The water is the vast, universal consciousness. Your island is your unique, individual manifestation of that consciousness. This realization does not mean your island instantly disappears. You still have your unique personality, your unique life. It means you stop identifying exclusively with the part of you that is above the water. Your sense of self expands to include the entire seascape. You are the island, yes, but you are also the deep foundation beneath, and you are the ocean that surrounds and sustains you. The loneliness of the island is replaced by the profound, boundless belonging of the ocean. This is the truth of who you are. You are not a separate drop of water, trembling with fear in a vast and dangerous sea. You are the entire ocean, experiencing itself for a little while as a beautiful, unique, and precious wave. You are not an isolated island, fighting for survival. You are the entire planetary body, expressing itself as a sacred mountain peak rising from the waters of being. The belief, and only the belief, that you are separate is what causes you to suffer. Your sacred work is to allow the shorelines of your ego to soften, to let the boundaries dissolve, to welcome the ocean of life into the very fabric of who you are. And this process, this softening, this dissolution of the old island self will feel to the ego like a death. It is the end of the person you have always believed yourself to be. It is the most terrifying and the most necessary of all the thresholds on the path. To be truly reborn, something in you must first be allowed to die. This is the great mystery of the phoenix and the Ouroboros. Having realized that your true nature is the vast, boundless ocean and not the small, separate wave, you are brought to the edge of the ultimate transformation. The ego, the mind-made sense of a separate I, feels its own dissolution approaching, and it recoils in absolute terror. This is the great threshold of the spiritual path. It is the guardian at the gate of enlightenment, the final test. Many who have traveled this far will turn back at this point, preferring the known suffering of their prison cell to the terrifying freedom of the world beyond its walls. The fear that arises is not the ordinary fear of physical death. It is a deeper, more primal terror, the fear of annihilation. It is the fear of losing your story, your history, your identity, the fear of dissolving into nothingness. It is the wave's terror of the shore. But the ancient wisdom traditions have left us maps through this territory of fear. They have left us symbols not of tragedy, but of glorious transformation. To navigate this necessary death, we must understand the sacred mysteries of the phoenix and the Ouroboros. Before we walk into the fire, we must first deconstruct the fear that makes us flee from its warmth. We must ask, with unflinching honesty, what is it that is actually dying? It is not you. The you that is pure awareness, the silent, conscious space that is reading these words right now, cannot die. It was never born, and it will never perish. It is the ocean. What is being asked to die is the story of you. It is the collection of labels, memories, and beliefs that you have mistaken for yourself. It is your name, your nationality, your profession. It is your identity as a son or a daughter, a parent or a spouse. It is your accumulated knowledge, your political opinions, your religious beliefs. It is your self-image as a good person or a struggling soul. All of these are just mental and emotional constructs. They are the temporary form of the wave. The necessary death is the process of releasing your identification with this bundle of thoughts and memories. Imagine a snake that has grown too large for its skin. The old skin is tight, restrictive, and dull. It is limiting the snake's own life force. To continue living and growing, the snake must shed it. This process can be arduous. The snake must rub itself against rough surfaces, contorting its body to slough off the old layer. To an outside observer, it might look like an act of struggle and pain. Now, imagine if the snake believed that it was its skin. It would look upon this shedding process with absolute terror. "I am dying," it would cry. "I am being torn apart. My very self is being stripped away." It would cling to the old, tight skin, preferring the familiar constriction to the terrifying vulnerability of shedding it. But of course, the snake is not the skin. The snake is the living, growing creature that is being liberated. You are the snake, your ego identity, your personal history, your story of who you think you are. This is the old, tight skin. It has served you, it has protected you, but now it is limiting your growth. The spiritual fire is the rough surface against which you must rub to be free. The ego will scream, "I am being destroyed," but the soul knows, "I am being liberated." The ego asks with genuine panic, "But without my story, who will I be? Without my past wounds, what will give me definition? Without my struggles, what will be my identity?" The only honest answer is, you don't know. And it is the willingness to step into that, not knowing, that constitutes the ultimate act of faith. This is the sacred fire of the phoenix. The myth of the phoenix is not a story about a hapless bird that accidentally catches fire. It is a story of a conscious and voluntary act of self-transcendence. The myth tells that when the phoenix grows old, after 1,000 years, its feathers become dull, its song grows weary, and its flight becomes heavy. It is burdened by the immense weight of its own long life. This represents the soul that has grown weary of the ego's endless cycles of suffering. It has played the games of desire and fear for long enough. The old way of being has become unsustainable, a heavy burden that stifles its own life force. The soul knows that it cannot continue as it is. The phoenix does not wait for death to come and take it. It makes a conscious choice to transform. It flies to a remote, sacred place and builds its own nest. But this is no ordinary nest of twigs and mud. It is a funeral pyre, built from the most fragrant and precious herbs and spices, branches of cinnamon, sprigs of myrrh, and leaves of spikenard. These sacred herbs represent your spiritual practices. They are the acts of love you have performed, the moments of meditation you have cultivated, the self-inquiry you have bravely undertaken. You consciously gather all the wisdom and merit of your life, and you build a nest in which to die. Then, the phoenix turns its face to the sun, sings a final, beautiful song of farewell, and waits for the sun's rays to ignite the fragrant spices. This is a crucial point. The fire is not an external, hostile force. It is the fire of the divine, the fire of pure spirit, the fire of your own higher consciousness. It is the same fire that burns in the sun that is you. You summon this fire through your own intense desire for truth and liberation. You turn the full, focused, and unflinching light of your awareness upon yourself. Then comes the burning. You shine this light on every part of the self you have clung to. You shine it on your deepest fears, and you watch them turn to smoke. You shine it on your most cherished beliefs about yourself and the world, and you feel the heat as they begin to char and curl. You shine it on your secret shames, your hidden prides, your oldest recent graduatements. Nothing is spared. This is the dark night of the soul described by the mystics. It is an alchemical process of solutio and calcinatio, a dissolution and purification by fire. It is excruciatingly painful for the ego because everything it holds dear, everything that gives it a sense of identity, is consumed. The entire structure of the false self is dismantled, piece by piece, and burned away. It is the ultimate act of surrender, letting go of all control, all knowledge, all identity. After the fire has raged, all that is left is a small pile of fine, pure, anonymous ash. This is the state of emptiness, the void, the shunyata. The story is gone. The name is gone. The I is gone. All that remains is pure potential, the unmanifested ground of all being. But this is not the end of the story, for within the ashes, a stirring begins. A new life, a tiny worm, emerges from the purified remains. And this worm grows, with miraculous speed, into a new phoenix. But it is not just the old bird restored to its former state. It is a new creation altogether, more beautiful, more powerful, and more glorious than before. Its feathers shimmer with an iridescent light. Its song is one of pure joy, and its flight is effortless. It has been reborn from its own death, not into the same old life, but into a higher octave of existence. It is no longer just a bird, it is a living symbol of eternal life and resurrection. This is the rebirth into your true self, the awakening of the Christ consciousness, or the Buddha nature within. You have died to your personal story, so that you may be reborn into your universal identity. To deepen our understanding, we turn to the second great symbol of this process, the Ouroboros. This is the ancient image of a snake or a dragon eating its own tail, forming a perfect circle. The ego, which sees time as a straight line from birth to death, cannot comprehend this symbol. It sees only a grotesque act of self-destruction. But the soul understands its profound wisdom. The Ouroboros represents the eternal, cyclical nature of the universe. Life feeds on death, and death gives birth to new life. They are not opposites locked in a struggle. They are two faces of a single, unified process of renewal. Every ending is, simultaneously, a beginning. Every exhalation is the necessary precursor to an inhalation. The Ouroboros also represents the act of alchemical self-consumption. To grow and transform, you must learn to eat your own past. You must take the energy that is locked up in your old wounds, your past failures, and your limiting beliefs, and you must re-ingest it, digest it, and transmute it into fuel for your present growth. Instead of being weighed down by your past, you learn to be nourished by it. This is the ultimate act of spiritual recycling, of turning the lead of your old suffering into the gold of your present wisdom. When you have passed through the fire of the phoenix and understood the wisdom of the Ouroboros, you begin to live in a new way. You no longer fear change, because you see it as an essential part of the eternal cycle of renewal. You no longer fear loss, because you know that nothing real can ever be lost. You are no longer terrified of losing yourself, because the small self you were once so desperate to protect has already been surrendered, and you have discovered the indestructible self that can never be threatened. The heavy burden of your personal history has been reduced to a pile of light, fertile ash. You walk through the world with a new lightness, a new freedom, a new joy. You have died to the person you thought you were, and in doing so, you have finally been born into the being you truly are. Therefore, do not fear the fire that calls to you. Do not shrink from the serpent that offers you its tail. The death that your ego fears is the very gateway to the life your soul has been yearning for since the beginning of time. Have the courage to build your sacred nest. Have the faith to surrender to the purifying fire of your own awareness, and have the grace to be reborn, magnificent and new, from the sacred ashes of your own beautiful and necessary death. This alchemical transmutation is not merely psychological. It is a fundamental change in your very substance, a retuning of your entire being. The dense lead of the ego has been transformed into the radiant gold of the true self. Your entire being now resonates at a new frequency, vibrates with a new energy, and speaks a new, silent language. This is the language of vibration. Having passed through the sacred fire of transformation, you are not who you were. The alchemical process is complete. The heavy, dull lead of the ego identity, with its dense story of fear and lack, has been transmuted in the crucible of awareness into the radiant, luminous gold of the true self. This is not merely a psychological shift or a change in perspective. It is a fundamental change in your very substance, a retuning of your entire being to a higher and more refined octave of reality. Your entire being now resonates with a new frequency. It speaks a new, silent language, a language that is not understood by the mind, but is felt in the very marrow of your bones. This is the language of vibration. To understand this, you must first grasp the most fundamental truth known to both the ancient mystics and modern quantum physicists. Everything is energy. There are no solid objects in the universe. The chair you are sitting on, the air you are breathing, the body you inhabit, the thoughts moving through your mind, all of these things, which appear so solid and separate, are, at their core, vast fields of energy vibrating at different frequencies. The only difference between a stone and a beam of light is the rate at which its energy is vibrating. This is not a philosophy. It is the underlying structure of existence. You are not a solid body with a consciousness inside it. You are a field of conscious, vibrating energy that has temporarily taken on the appearance of a body. You are a symphony of frequencies, and the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your music. Let us use a metaphor. The person you were before, the ego self, was like a bell cast from cheap, impure metals. It was made from the lead of your past traumas, the brittle tin of your limiting beliefs, the cold, hard iron of your judgments and opinions. Furthermore, this bell was not whole. It was riddled with hairline cracks, the cracks of old resentments, of unspoken griefs, of deep-seated fears. For your entire life, the universe, or life itself, would come and gently strike this bell, as it does with everyone. A challenging event, a difficult relationship, a moment of loss, this is life striking the bell. And what was the sound produced by this cracked, leaden instrument? It was not a beautiful, resonant tone. It was a dull, painful thud. A jarring, dissonant clang that quickly died, leaving only a lingering ache. There was no harmony, no sustain, no beauty. This is the subjective experience of living in a low vibrational state. The inner world is one of noise and chaos. The mind is filled with the frantic, grating static of anxious thoughts. The emotional body is a cacophony of dissonant feelings, the low, heavy hum of depression, the sharp, jagged screech of anger, the unnerving, chaotic rhythm of fear. It feels bad for a very simple reason. It is energetically incoherent. It is a state of internal friction and dissonance. A person in this state is like a radio transmitter that is stuck on a low-frequency band, broadcasting a signal of static and noise. The content of this broadcast is, I am a victim, life is a struggle, I am not enough, the world is a dangerous place. The process of spiritual awakening, the death of the phoenix, is the alchemical process of melting down this old, cracked bell. The fire of your awareness burns away the impure dross, the lead, the tin, the iron until only the pure, essential gold of your true nature remains. From this purified substance, a new instrument is cast. This is the reborn self. It is a bell made of flawless crystal, or a singing bowl forged from alchemical gold. It is perfectly whole, exquisitely tuned, and free from all impurity or defect. Now, when life comes to strike this new instrument, the result is entirely different. A challenge or a loss is still a strike, but instead of a dull thud, the crystalline bell rings out with a clear, pure, celestial tone. The sound is beautiful, it is harmonious, and it sustains for a long, long time. radiating outwards and bringing a sense of peace and harmony to everything around it. This sustained, beautiful note is the feeling of equanimity. It is the deep peace that underlies all experience when you are abiding in your true nature. The inner world is no longer a noisy marketplace, but a resonant temple. The music of your being becomes harmonious. This state feels good because it is energetically coherent. It is a state of being in tune with yourself, and therefore in tune with the fundamental harmony of the universe. This brings us to the great law of resonance, which is the operational dynamic of karma. The law is this: you do not attract into your life what you want. You attract into your life what you are. The universe is not a catalog from which you order experiences with your thoughts. The universe is a great, resonant chamber that echoes back to you your own frequency. Your feeling state, your baseline vibration, your state of being, is the song you are singing, and the universe, like a perfect musician, will only play in a key that harmonizes with your song. If the song you are constantly singing is one of lack and complaint, the universe cannot bring you experiences of abundance and joy. To do so would create a jarring dissonance. It would be musically impossible. Instead, it will faithfully bring you more circumstances to complain about, validating the song you have chosen to sing. If the song you sing is one of genuine gratitude and inner peace, the universe must, by law, bring you experiences that harmonize with that melody. It will present you with more blessings for which to be grateful. This is not a reward, it is physics. This is why positive thinking alone so often fails. The ego learns this law and tries to manipulate it. It stands as a cracked, leaden bell and tries to shout affirmations, "I am abundant, I am loved," but the universe is not deaf. It doesn't listen to the words you shout. It feels the vibration from which you are shouting. And the vibration of a cracked bell shouting, "I am abundant," is still the vibration of a cracked bellet, is a frequency of neediness and lack, trying to cover itself up. The result is that you attract more experiences of needing to feel abundant. The true work is not to change your words, but to change your instrument. It is to undergo the alchemical fire, to heal the cracks, to purify the metal, until your very being naturally and effortlessly resonates with the frequency of abundance and love. Then, you do not even need to ask. Your reality will effortlessly arrange itself around your new song. The feeling is the prayer. Your state of being is the magnet. You are a musical instrument, and you have a choice in the music you produce. A thought of fear is a dissonant note. A thought of love is a harmonious one. A state of resentment is like playing a grating, out-of-tune chord over and over. A state of forgiveness is like resolving that chord into a beautiful, peaceful harmony. You are the musician, and your inner world is your symphony. What music are you creating in this moment? What is the baseline frequency of your being? Listen, feel. Is it coherent or chaotic? Is it beautiful or jarring? You have the power to change the note at any time. You can change it right now by taking a deep breath and choosing to feel gratitude for that breath. In that single moment, you have changed your vibration. You have played a different note. To live a spiritual life is to become a conscious musician of your own energy. It is to take responsibility for the song you are sending out into the resonant chamber of the universe. So, walk through the world as the new being you are. You are no longer the cracked bell, but the crystalline singing bowl. Know that your primary role is not to do, but to be. To be a resonant field of peace in a chaotic world. To be a frequency of love in the midst of fear. This is the greatest service you can offer. You heal the world not by fighting its darkness, but by unapologetically shining your own light, by fearlessly ringing your own clear bell. Your presence becomes your gift. Your vibration becomes your offering. And as you become more attuned to your own beautiful crystalline nature, you also become more sensitive. You notice, with great clarity, anything that might dampen your resonance. A speck of dust, a smudge of grime on the surface of the bowl can deaden its pure tone. And so, the art of the conscious musician is not just about playing beautiful notes, but about constantly and lovingly keeping their sacred instrument clean. This is the ongoing, essential practice of purification. You are now a musical instrument of exquisite quality. The alchemical fires have transmuted the dense lead of your past self into the resonant gold of your true nature, and your being vibrates with a new, harmonious frequency. You have become the crystalline singing bowl, capable of producing a note of pure, healing clarity. And it is precisely because of this newfound purity that you become exquisitely sensitive. You begin to notice, with a clarity that was previously impossible, the subtle accumulation of energetic dust and grime that comes from living in the world. A harsh word from another person, a fearful news report, the subtle absorption of collective anxiety in a crowded room, these things are like fine dust or a greasy fingerprint on the surface of your crystal bowl. They can slightly dampen your resonance, dull your pure tone, and distort the beautiful music of your being. The spiritual journey, therefore, does not end with the great transmutation. It enters a new phase, the ongoing, loving art of purification. This is not a chore, nor is it a sign that you are flawed or dirty. It is the simple, practical wisdom of a master musician who knows that a precious instrument must be tended to with care if it is to produce its most beautiful sound. It is an act of profound self-love. You would not let a priceless Stradivarius violin accumulate grime, so why would you allow the far more precious instrument of your own consciousness to do so? This art of purification employs two primary complementary methods, one as gentle as the summer rain, the other as intense as the alchemist's flame. We must master both, the passive purification of allowing and the active purification of awareness. Let us first speak of the gentle purification of the rain. This is the art of learning to be with your own emotional weather. Our natural human tendency, taught to us by a culture that fears discomfort, is to resist difficult feelings. When a cloud of sadness appears on our inner horizon, we run for cover. We immediately distract ourselves with work, with entertainment, with food, with anything to avoid feeling the impending rain. When a surge of fear or anger arises, we suppress it, we deny it, we judge it as bad or unspiritual, and we try to force it down into the basement of our being. In doing this, we refuse to get wet, and the dust and grime of daily life remain stuck to us. The wisdom of the rain teaches a different way. Imagine yourself standing in an open field. You see a dark cloud approaching. Instead of running, you simply stand your ground. You feel the first drops on your skin, and you allow the rain to come. You let it wash over you completely, drenching you. You don't fight it. You don't resist it. You don't even judge it as good or bad. You simply allow it to be what it is, water falling from the sky. You trust in its power to cleanse, to wash away the dust of the day, to leave the air fresh and clean in its wake. This is how we must learn to be with our emotions. When a wave of sadness arises, born from some old memory or a present disappointment, the practice of purification by rain is to stop everything. Find a quiet space, be still, and give that sadness your full permission to exist. You drop the story that the mind wants to weave around it. This is because of that. It's not fair. It will never end. You move out of the story and into the raw, physical sensation of the emotion itself. You allow the energy of sadness to move through you like a cleansing shower. You feel the tightness in your throat, the heaviness in your chest, and you breathe into it, allowing it, softening around it. You realize that emotions are simply emotions, energy in motion. They only become toxic and stagnant when we build dams of resistance against their natural flow. By allowing the rain of sadness, of grief, of fear to wash through you without resistance, you allow it to complete its sacred work. It cleanses a part of your being that needed cleansing. And then, like any storm, it passes, leaving you clearer, more peaceful, and more open than before. This is the courage to feel. It is the deep wisdom of surrender. There are, however, some impurities that are not like simple dust. They are like hardened pitch or a stubborn, leaden stain that has bonded with the surface of our golden bell. These are our deeply ingrained, unconscious patterns of thought and behavior. They are the core limiting beliefs we adopted in childhood. I am unworthy. I must be perfect to be loved. The world is not a safe place. The gentle washing of the rain may not be enough to dissolve these dense, habitual structures. For these, we need the focused, intense heat of the alchemical fire. This is the active, masculine principle of purification. This fire is your own concentrated, unwavering awareness. We must remember the true goal of the ancient alchemists. Their quest was not merely to turn literal lead into literal gold to become rich. That is the ego's interpretation. The true alchemists were mystics. The lead they worked with was the dense, heavy, suffering consciousness of the ordinary human ego. The gold they sought to create was the luminous, liberated consciousness of the awakened self. The laboratory was their own being, and the fire they used to power this transmutation was the inner fire of contemplation, of fierce, loving, and sustained attention. The practice of purification by fire is this. You take a specific pattern or belief that you wish to transmute. Let us use the example of a deep-seated feeling of unworthiness. You do not fight this feeling. You do not argue with it or try to replace it with positive affirmations that would be like trying to paint over the leaden stain instead of removing it. Instead, you place this feeling of unworthiness upon the sacred altar of your present moment awareness, and then you apply the fire. You gaze upon it with your full, undivided attention. You bring a powerful, loving curiosity to it. You ask, what does this unworthiness actually feel like in my body? Where is it located? What is its texture, its temperature, its shape? You hold it in the unwavering light of your presence without judgment. Then you investigate its roots. When was the first time I remember feeling this? What story is attached to it? You keep shining the light. You do this day after day. This focused consciousness acts like an alchemical blowtorch. It heats up the dense, solidified, leaden pattern. And under this intense heat, the pattern begins to lose its solid form. It begins to melt. Illusions cannot survive direct, sustained observation. The lie cannot hold its shape in the fire of truth. Eventually, the dense pattern of unworthiness dissolves completely. The energy that was trapped within that knot is released, and it is integrated back into your being, no longer as the lead of a painful belief, but as the pure gold of wisdom and self-knowledge. This is not a one-time event, but an ongoing art. We live in a world that is full of energetic pollution. Therefore, purification must become a form of daily spiritual hygiene, as natural and necessary as bathing your physical body. Each day provides opportunities for both rain and fire. Perhaps you are washed by a moment of unexpected sadness, and you practice allowing it to cleanse you. Perhaps you catch a familiar, self-critical thought, and you take a moment to place it in the alchemical fire of your attention. This loving moment-to-moment maintenance is how you care for your sacred instrument. It is how you preserve the purity of your tone. Through the gentle dance of these two forms of purification, you maintain the clarity and integrity of your being. And as your inner vessel becomes ever more clear, cleansed of the static of your own impurities, you are able to perceive the world with a new and startling clarity. You begin to see, without distortion, the great fundamental pattern of all existence, the cosmic, creative, and beautiful dance of opposites. You are now prepared to hold the tension of yin and yang, and to understand the profound wisdom of the caduceus. Having polished the instrument of your consciousness through the sacred arts of purification, you are now able to perceive the world with a new and penetrating clarity. The static of your own inner turmoil no longer distorts the signal of reality. And with this newfound clarity, you begin to see the fundamental pattern, the deep structure that underpins all of manifested existence. You see that the world is woven from pairs of opposites. light and darkness, sound and silence, stillness and movement, masculine and feminine, joy and sorrow, birth and death. Our ordinary, unpurified mind, the ego, looks upon this world of duality and immediately passes judgment. It labels one side of the pair good and the other bad. It decides that light, joy, and life are good, and therefore it must cling to them, grasp them, and hold on to them at all costs. It decides that darkness, sorrow, and death are bad, and therefore it must fear them, resist them, and flee from them with all its might. This constant, frantic cycle of clinging and fleeing, of grasping and resisting, is the very engine of human suffering. It is a war waged against half of reality. It is a war that can never be won. The great wisdom traditions, however, offer a different path. They teach that mastery is not found in choosing one side and vanquishing the other. Wisdom is found in learning to hold the tension of the opposites, in recognizing that they are not enemies, but partners in a sacred and inseparable dance. To understand this dance is to understand the universe. The maps for this understanding are given to us in the profound, ancient symbols of the yin-yang and the caduceus. Let us first contemplate the taijitu, the symbol of yin and yang. It is a perfect circle, divided not by a straight line of conflict, but by a graceful, flowing S-curve. On one side is yang, the white portion, representing the masculine principle. This is the energy of the sun, of the day, of light, of action, assertion, logic, and structure. It is the energy of doing, of building, of moving forward. It is the alchemical fire we use to actively burn away our illusions. Our modern world overwhelmingly worships the yang principle. It rewards endless action, constant productivity, and logical linear thinking. On the other side is yin, the black portion, representing the feminine principle. This is the energy of the moon, of the night, of darkness, of receptivity, intuition, feeling, and surrender. It is the energy of being, of allowing, of gestating. It is the gentle rain that washes us clean when we stop resisting. Our culture has largely devalued the yin principle, viewing rest as laziness, intuition as fanciful, and surrender as weakness. The first step in finding balance is to restore honor to the sacred yin. It is to understand that the darkness of the unknown is not a threat, but the fertile void from which all new things are born. It is to recognize that receptivity is not passivity, but a profound form of strength. It is to trust the wisdom of your feelings as much as the logic of your thoughts. You cannot live a whole life by honoring only half of the cycle. To be all yang is to be like a sun that never sets. You will inevitably burn out, your energy will be consumed, and your actions will become brittle and soulless. To be all yin is to be like a moon that is always new. You will stagnate in the darkness, your potential never taking form, your energy never brought into the world. The spiritual path is the path of learning to dance between the two. It is knowing when to act with assertive power, yang, and when to yield with graceful wisdom, yin. It is balancing the clarity of your mind, yang, with the deep knowing of your heart, yin. It is honoring your drive to accomplish and create in the world, yang, as much as you honor your deep need for rest, silence, and simply being, yin. But the true genius of the Taijitu symbol lies in its most subtle feature, the small dots. Within the vast white expanse of the yang, there is a small dot of black. And within the deep black expanse of the yin, there is a small dot of white. This is a truth of immense profundity. It teaches us that nothing is ever purely one thing. Within the greatest light lies the seat of darkness, and within the deepest darkness lies the seat of light. In your moment of greatest triumph and success, yang, the dot of yin is there to remind you of humility, to remind you that all forms are temporary. In your moment of deepest sorrow, despair, or failure, yin, the dot of yang is there, a tiny, indestructible seed of new life, a promise that the light will return. This understanding prevents us from falling into absolute states. It gives us equanimity. When we are experiencing joy, we do not cling so desperately, because we know its nature is to change. When we are experiencing sorrow, we do not fall into utter despair, because we know that within this darkness, the seed of the next dawn is already gestating. The dance is eternal. Now let us turn to a Western symbol that contains the same deep wisdom. The caduceus, the staff of the god Hermes or Mercury. It is a staff around which two serpents are entwined, often topped with a pair of wings. This, too, is a map of consciousness. The two serpents represent the same raw, powerful, and opposing forces of duality that we see in the yin-yang. They are the currents of life and death, of chaos and order, of creation and destruction. In many traditions, they represent the masculine and feminine energy channels that run along the spine, the Ida and the Pingala of the yogic system. When these two serpent energies are in conflict, when they are unbalanced, they are poisonous. They represent the chaos of a life torn apart by its own internal contradictions. The ego, caught between these two powerful forces, is paralyzed and tormented. It tries to side with one snake against the other, a battle that only increases the violent thrashing and turmoil. The secret of the caduceus, the key to its power as a symbol of healing and mastery, is not the serpents. It is the central staff. The staff is the third force, the point of equilibrium. It is the spine of the tightrope walker, the unwavering axis around which the two serpents can wind in a balanced, harmonious dance. This staff is your own conscious, present awareness. It is the silent, unshakable mountain of your being. It is the still point of the turning world. The spiritual work is not to kill one of the snakes. It is not to choose a side. The work is to hold the staff with unwavering firmness. It is to remain rooted in your own center, in your own presence, while the dualistic forces of life dance around you. When you are firmly established in the center, as the silent witness, the two opposing energies cease to be enemies. They become a source of immense power. Their dynamic, spiraling dance becomes the engine of creation, the very pulse of life. You are no longer torn apart by the opposites. You are energized by them. And what of the wings at the top of the staff? The wings represent transcendence and liberation. When you have learned to balance the dualistic forces of your own nature by holding firmly to the center post of pure awareness, you are no longer trapped on the horizontal plane of duality. You gain the ability to rise to a higher perspective. You can fly. You can look down upon the dance of opposites from a place of wisdom and peace, seeing it not as a battleground of conflict, but as a beautiful, intricate, and purposeful pattern. This is spiritual freedom. It is not an escape from the world of duality, but the mastery of it. You can still feel joy and sorrow. You can still act and be still, but you are no longer violently thrown back and forth between them. You are the calm center of the cyclone, the axis of the spinning wheel. To live this in practice is to become a spiritual tightrope walker. The goal is not to rush to the other side of the rope. The goal is the quality of your balance in this very moment. When you feel yourself leaning too far into the yang energy of doing, of striving, of controlling, you consciously breathe and lean back towards the yin energy of allowing, of being, of trusting. When you feel yourself drifting too far into the yin energy of passivity and stagnation, you consciously call upon the yang energy of clear intention and decisive action. It is a constant, fluid, and intuitive process of adjustment. It is the art of arts. It is the dance of life itself. You are no longer a soldier fighting on one side of a great battle. You are the dance floor upon which the two great forces of the cosmos can meet in a beautiful and creative embrace. Your work is to become the still, stable center, the unwavering staff that allows this sacred dance to occur without chaos. Be the axis, not the spin. Be the silence that holds the sound. Be the stillness that allows the movement. And to truly be this staff, to truly embody this still point, you must become familiar and comfortable with the quality from which it is made. You must learn to value the space between the inhalation and the exhalation, the silence between the musical notes. You must come to know the profound and creative power that lies in the heart of what the mind calls emptiness. Having learned to hold the sacred tension of the opposites, to be the still staff around which the serpents of duality dance, you are now invited to investigate the nature of the staff itself. What is this still point, this calm axis of the turning world? What is the substance of this silence you have cultivated? To the ego mind, it looks and feels like nothing. It is a space between thoughts, a pause between breaths, an absence of noise and activity. The ego, which defines itself by content, by doing, and by thinking, looks upon this state and calls it the void. It is the ego's greatest fear. Our entire modern culture is a frantic, collective flight from this inner emptiness. We fill every moment of silence with noisy music, podcasts, the chatter of television. We fill every moment of stillness with movement, endless tasks, busy work, the frantic scrolling through digital worlds. We fill every empty space in our lives with clutter, with possessions, with ambitions. We are terrified of the silent, empty room of our own being, because in that silence, with nothing to distract us, the ego fears it will cease to exist, and its fear is justified. But what the ego calls the void, the soul knows by another name, the womb. What the ego fears as annihilation, the soul recognizes as the field of infinite potential. To access your deepest power, you must befriend the emptiness you have been taught to fear. You must understand the profound mystery of the sacred chalice. Let us first explore the ego's frantic flight from the void. The ego, as we have seen, is a construct. It is a bundle of thoughts, memories, beliefs, and identities. It is pure content. Therefore, it needs constant content to maintain its sense of self. It needs problems to solve, grievances to rehearse, plans to make, and enemies to fight. In a moment of true inner silence, when the stream of thought ceases, the ego has nothing to cling to. It looks into this silence and sees a black abyss, a terrifying nothingness that threatens its very existence. So it immediately generates a new thought, a new worry, a new distraction to fill the space and reaffirm its own reality. This creates a state of profound inner clutter. Imagine your consciousness as a house. The ego is a compulsive hoarder. It drags in every memory from the past, every anxiety about the future, every opinion it has ever formed, every judgment it has ever made, and it refuses to throw anything away. The house becomes so crammed with this mental and emotional junk that there is no room to live, no space to breathe. In this state of inner clutter, how could anything new possibly enter? How could a moment of divine grace find a place to land? How could a subtle whisper of intuition be heard above the noise of the piled high debris? It cannot. By constantly filling ourselves to the brim with our own egoic noise, we render ourselves incapable of receiving the very wisdom and peace we claim to seek. Now, let us perform an alchemical shift in perception. Let us look at this same emptiness through the eyes of the soul. The soul knows that all of creation arises from emptiness. The cosmos itself was born from a silent, spacious void. The most beautiful music is not just the notes, but the silence between the notes that gives them shape and meaning. A masterpiece of art is not just the paint, but the empty canvas that allows the image to appear. The emptiness is not a lack. It is pure potentiality. It is the ground of all being. The most sacred symbol for this truth is the chalice, or the Holy Grail. Contemplate a simple cup or a chalice. What is its most essential quality? What makes it useful? It is its emptiness. A cup's entire purpose, its very function, is defined by the empty space within it. A cup that is already full of stale water can receive nothing more. To be filled with the fresh, living wine of the Spirit, it must first be empty. You are this chalice. Your consciousness is this sacred vessel. For most of your life, You have been a chalice filled to the brim with the stale water of your own ego. It is filled with your certainties, your hard-earned knowledge, your rigid opinions, your personal history, and your detailed plans for the future. And so, you go through life unable to receive anything new. The universe attempts to pour grace, wisdom, and inspiration into your cup, but it simply overflows and is lost, because there is no room to receive it. The spiritual path, therefore, is not a process of addition, but one of subtraction. It is not about cramming more spiritual knowledge, more techniques, more beliefs into your already full cup. It is the courageous and liberating process of emptying your cup. You let go of the need to be right, creating space for true understanding. You let go of your rigid plans for the future, creating space for a higher, more intelligent destiny to unfold. You let go of your old grievances, creating space for forgiveness and peace to enter. You empty yourself of your own self-importance to become a vessel for a power that is infinitely greater. This is the meaning behind the famous Zen teaching, empty your cup. It is the wisdom of becoming nothing so that you can be open to everything. What does this sacred emptiness feel like? It is not the dead, black, nihilistic void that the ego fears. It is a vibrant, shimmering, and alive stillness. It is a peace that is not merely the absence of noise, but a peace that is pregnant with all potential. It is a silence that listens. It is a state of alert and open receptivity. When you become this empty chalice, you become a conduit for a higher intelligence. Creative ideas flow into you as if from nowhere. The perfect words come to you in a difficult conversation without you having to plan them. You experience synchronicities and serendipities as the universe begins to communicate with you directly, now that you have finally created a quiet space to listen. You are no longer operating from the limited resources of your own small mind. You are being guided by the infinite wisdom of the whole. The practice of becoming the chalice is the practice of consciously creating moments of emptiness in your life. It is the practice of meditation, of sitting in silence and allowing thoughts to come and go without serving them tea. It is the practice of not knowing, of letting go of the desperate need to have an opinion about everything. It is the practice of deep listening, where you listen to another person not to formulate your reply, but to simply receive their being. It is the practice of spending time in nature, allowing its vast, silent presence to empty you of your own small concerns. It is the courage to face boredom without immediately reaching for your phone. It is the willingness to be still. Each time you choose this path, you are polishing your inner chalice, making it more pure, more ready, more receptive. The choice is laid before you in every moment of your life. You can continue to live as a cluttered, overstuffed storehouse, anxiously guarding the decaying junk of your personal history, so full of yourself that you are immune to the touch of the divine. Or you can find the supreme courage to become the empty chalice. You can trust that this emptiness is not your enemy, but your greatest ally. You can learn to rest in the fertile void, knowing that it is the source of all renewal, all creativity, and all grace. Do not fear the emptiness. It is the lap of God. It is the silent, spacious heart of your own true home. And when you finally become comfortable in this sacred space, when you are no longer afraid of being empty, you realize a final, liberating truth. The journey was never about finding a treasure to put in your cup. The treasure was the empty cup itself. The journey was never about becoming someone new. It was always about unbecoming everything that was not truly you, so that you could return to the magnificent being you have always been. This is the great homecoming. This is the closing of the circle. This is the return to the unmarked center. The journey has been long. We have walked the winding paths of the labyrinth and gazed into the still mirror of truth. We have faced the shadow, built the inner citadel, and learned to hear the whispers of the universe. We have surrendered to the great river, passed through the alchemical fire, and opened the sacred rose of the heart. We have come to see ourselves not as separate islands, but as the entire ocean of being. We have emptied our cup, making ourselves a holy chalice ready to receive. And now, having traveled so far, through so many inner landscapes, we arrive at the final destination. The ego, the traveler, expects a magnificent city of gold, a fanfare, a final reward for its heroic journey. But, as the mists of illusion clear, we look around and make the most stunning, paradoxical, and liberating discovery of all. We are right back where we started. The destination we sought was the place we never left. The journey was not a line, but a circle, and we have come home. The ego thinks in straight lines. It sees life as a ladder to be climbed, a series of checkpoints to be passed on a linear path from birth to death. It is always striving, always trying to get there from here, convinced that peace and fulfillment are in a future place. The soul, however, knows the truth of the circle. It knows that the path of spiritual awakening is not about going somewhere else. It is about arriving fully where you already are, and seeing it for the first time. Let us trace the path we have walked upon this great circle. We began as a point on its circumference, feeling lost and confused, and so we entered the labyrinth. We looked into the mirror of the present moment and were forced to confront our own shadow. To do this work, we had to find the stability of the mountain within and learn to listen to the subtle whispers of guidance that were always there. We surrendered our own frantic efforts and allowed ourselves to be carried by the river of life, learning to plant the seed of our intention in the fertile soil of the eternal now. We came to understand the perfect, impersonal law of the unseen scales of karma, realizing with a shock that we were the weaver of our own reality. To weave with clarity, we had to ignite our own inner flame and shift the seat of our awareness from the head to the heart. From the open heart, we perceived the interconnected web of life, which shattered the core illusion of separation. To truly let go of that old identity, we had to pass through the necessary death of the phoenix, which transmuted our very being and taught us the language of vibration. To keep that new, pure tone, we learned the art of purification, which in turn allowed us to hold the great dance of balance. Finally, we embraced the creative power of emptiness, becoming the chalice. And after all that, we are here, in this body, in this life. The world outside the window is the same. The people in our lives are the same. The circumstances may be the same. The great joke, the divine comedy, is that the journey was never about changing the world. It was about changing the eyes with which you see the world. By walking the full circumference of experience, you have returned to the same point, but you are not the same person. You now see the sacred in the ordinary. You see the teacher in the challenge. You see the reflection of yourself in the other. You have completed the circle. You are whole. But there is one final secret, one last layer to this mystery. While you were so bravely walking the circumference of the circle, where was your true self? The destination of the journey was never another point on the path ahead. The true destination was, and always has been, the center of the circle. Contemplate this. The circumference is the realm of doing, of experience, of time. The center is the realm of being, of stillness, of timelessness. The circumference is in constant motion. The center is absolutely still. While you were identifying with the traveler, the seeker, the one on the path, there was a part of you that never moved. There was a silent, aware presence that was calmly witnessing the entire journey. It witnessed your confusion in the labyrinth. It witnessed your fear of the shadow. It witnessed your surrender to the river. It witnessed your passage through the fire. This silent witness is the center. It is your true nature. And the final awakening, the true homecoming, is the shifting of your identity from the point moving on the circle to the still, unmarked center itself. What is the nature of this center? It has no qualities. It has no name, no form, no history, no future. It is not a thing. It is the pure, conscious emptiness, the sacred void that we explored before. It is the hub of the wheel. All the spokes of experience connect to it, and the entire wheel of life revolves around it. But the hub itself remains perfectly still. All peace, all power, All wisdom resides in this unmoved center. As long as your identity is invested on the moving rim of the wheel, you will be subject to the ups and downs of life, the ceaseless spin of fortune and misfortune. When you learn to abide in the hub, you can still experience the turning of the wheel, but you are no longer dizzy. You are no longer thrown off balance. You are anchored in the deep, quiet peace of your own eternal being. This is the homecoming. You are not returning to a childhood home or a geographic location. You are returning to your own source. You are remembering who you were before you were given a name, before you were told a story about who you should be. You were the silent center all along. You were never lost. You were never broken. You were never separate. You, the eternal self, simply chose to project a point of your own consciousness onto the circumference of a circle, to have the grand and beautiful adventure of forgetting, so that you could have the even more joyous experience of remembering. To live from this unmarked center is to live with a new kind of freedom. You can fully participate in the dance of life on the circle's edge. You can love with your whole being. You can work with passion. You can create with joy. You can even cry with profound sorrow. But the core of you is no longer identified with the dancer. You are the still silence from which the dancer's movement arises. You are no longer desperately attached to the outcomes of your actions, because you know that your true self is not defined by any outcome, be it success or failure. You can play the game of life with full intensity and commitment, but you know that it is a game, a divine, beautiful, sometimes painful, but ultimately wondrous game. You are in the world, but you are not of it. The great search is over. You have walked the circle and found its center. You have followed the map and discovered that the treasure was buried in the one place you never thought to look, right where you stand. You are not the story. You are the spacious awareness in which the story is allowed to unfold. You are not the seeker. You are the peace that the seeker was looking for. You are home. And so, the circle completes itself. The final word dissolves back into the silence from which it was born. We have walked a long way together, through many ancient landscapes of the soul. We have navigated the labyrinth and stood before the mirror of truth. We have sailed the great river and sat at the loom of the weaver. We have felt the fire of the phoenix and the stillness of the mountain. But you must understand a final, crucial truth. These symbols, these stories, these metaphors, they are not the destination. They were never the treasure itself. They are fingers pointing to the moon. For too long, we have been a humanity that is obsessed with collecting and analyzing the fingers. We study the shape of the finger, the angle of the finger, the history of the finger. We write books about the finger and argue about its true meaning. But we forget to look where the finger is pointing. The labyrinth was pointing to the truth of your own inner journey. The river was pointing to the grace of your own surrender. The phoenix was pointing to the power of your own regenerative spirit. All of these symbols were pointing back to you. They were pointing to the magnificent, luminous, and silent reality of your own being. Do not cling to the finger. Do not worship the symbol. Let them go now. Lift your gaze. Look at the moon. The moon is you. The ancient carvings on stone are not the story. The timeless myths whispered through the ages are not the message. They are but echoes of a truth that lives and breathes inside of you. You are the ancient story. You are the timeless message. Live it, breathe it, be it. There is nothing else you need to learn, nothing more you need to find. The search is complete. You are already that which you were seeking. Now, in the quiet that follows these words, in the stillness of your own sacred presence, simply be. There is nowhere to go, nothing to do, and no one you need to become. Feel the gentle rhythm of your own breath. Feel the silent, living energy in your hands, your feet, your heart. Let go of the journey. Let go of the guide. Let go of every word you have heard. And in the vast, peaceful silence of your own beautiful being, what truth do you hear whispering its name?